121. Hostility from the court, the first simulation after becoming a martial god. It was a pity, however, that Zhang Shensho obtained that sword art less than 2 months before dying on a battlefield between the 10,000 manifestations sect and the heavenly demon sect. Even his storage ring was taken by an unknown heavenly demon sect grunt. That grunt later stumbled into an ancient teleportation array during a pursuit and was teleported to an unknown place. According to analyses by many formation great masters of the Great Qin dynasty, that ancient teleportation array most likely led to the land of Absolute Zero in the center of the Mist Fiend Sea. That one tribulation martial god named Lu Changsheng, although claiming to be a disciple of the Bright Divine Sect legacy, no one knew his true origins. Could he truly have come from the land of Absolute Zero? Of course, whether it was the true dragon remains, the great 5 elements sword formation, or the mysterious object in his sea of consciousness, these were all just conjectures. Even so, a considerable number of people were shocked, and even secretly preparing something. Within the Heluo Li clan in Heluo County, the patriarch, Li Mingyuan, and a group of clan elders sat silently in the deliberation hall. Li Mingyuan's heart was heavy. He had never expected that old ancestor Li Zizai had merely gone out to seize the Xingluo sect secret decree, yet not only did he fail to obtain the secret decree, he also lost his own life. Not only that, but he also lost the world-destroying millstone, which the Li clan had inherited for 2,000 years. The news of the Xingluo sect secret decree's emergence this time was provided by Yu Wen. I think their Yu family no longer needs to exist. Li Mingyuan snorted coldly. Although the news was true, it had caused the death of the Li clan's old ancestor, so the Li clan naturally wouldn't let this soft target off the hook. Furthermore, Lu Changsheng's identity and background can be greatly exploited. Isn't the Tianji Pavilion always proclaiming that a demon star emerging from the land of Absolute Zero will destroy the world? Anman, you led a team of mysterious blackguard and personally go to the Tianji Pavilion. You must persuade Jai Xingzi to act. Yes, father. Li Mingyuan's second son, Li Anman, immediately stood up and replied respectfully. Li Mingyuan was quite confident in Li Anman's abilities. Even if he couldn't persuade Jai Xingzi, a 5 tribulation martial god, to act personally, he could still bring some trouble to Lu Changsheng. Within Shenyang Palace in the Great Qin Imperial City. In a mysterious blackguard handbook, Lu Changsheng's name soared, surpassing countless martial artists and standing among the very top tier. In that tier, those of equal renown were only a handful of people, such as Yuming sect leader Dazong, Heavenly Demon sect leader Ren Wenchen, and Shang Chu of the Southern County Shang clan. This roster was not ranked by strength, but by the degree of threat to imperial power. Now, Lu Changsheng had become one of the few individuals posing the greatest threat to the imperial court. The root of everything lay in that 1000-jong azure dragon. Without true dragon remains, it would certainly be impossible to condense such a terrifying Dharma idol. And how terrifying true dragon remains were, the Great Qin dynasty, which rose to power from them, undoubtedly knew best. If Lu Changsheng were ignored, given time, he might become another Zhang Zhao or even the next first emperor. Coupled with the prophecy made by Xu Fu, the founder of the Fang Xian sect, to Great Qin 2000 years ago, by this it rises, by this it shall fall. The Great Qin dynasty could not overemphasize its importance. No matter how tumultuous the outside world was, Lu Changsheng remained in the secluded valley, refining Li Zizai's soul fragments tirelessly. After a full 6 days and nights, Lu Changsheng finally refined all the large and small soul fragments, ultimately melting them into 2 fist-sized, prismatic soul crystals. The soul crystals looked like they were polished from crystal, clear and translucent, yet they displayed a faint purple color, which was the color of the divine soul. This shape and size were not intentionally created by Lu Changsheng. Just as water vapor forms snowflakes, most of which are hexagonal. Lu Changsheng merely extracted the pure soul power from the soul body and compressed it to the extreme, and it automatically formed this appearance. This also marked the successful condensation of the soul crystal. The divine soul of a 1 tribulation martial god can be refined into 1 soul crystal. Thereafter, for each tribulation past, the number of soul crystals that can be refined doubles. Under the most ideal conditions, the divine soul of Li Zizai, a 3 tribulation expert, could have yielded 4 soul crystals. However, he first burned his soul power and was then severely wounded by the great 5 elements sword formation, so only half of his soul power remained. Some consumption in battle is inevitable, unless Lu Changsheng can completely overwhelm his opponent. In that case, the soul power obtained would be relatively complete. Therefore, it is still necessary to greatly improve one's strength. Of course, this time, in addition to the soul crystals, Lu Chengsheng also gained the complete stellar soul strengthening method and several soul arts from Li Zizai's memory fragments, which were also very valuable. The only regret was that he did not find the secret method for controlling the world-destroying millstone. The relevant memories seemed to have been tampered with and had already dissipated automatically. To use the world-destroying millstone, he would have to refine it himself. Soul crystal detected. Would host like to recharge immediately? Recharge one soul crystal first. Recharge successful. Current balance is 1 gold. One simulation costs 1 gold. Would you like to start the simulation immediately? Yes. Hadn't Lu Changsheng been working for 6 days and 6 nights, waiting for this very moment? Consuming 1 gold, simulation begins. At 17, you passed the lightning tribulation, became a martial god, and killed old ancestor Li Zizai of the Heluo Li clan on Shaoyang Mountain, gaining renown throughout the Tianyuan continent. Afterward, you returned to the secluded valley, refined Li Zizai's soul fragments, and obtained soul crystals. After absorbing the soul crystals, your soul power increased several times. 7 days later, you refined the remaining lightning essence in your body, and your soul power increased by another 60%. Next, you refined the dragon blood, and the power of the Azure Dragon Dharma idol increased. After that, you prepared to refine the medium-grade Dao weapon, the world-destroying millstone. However, you quickly discovered that it contained divine soul imprints left by successive martial gods of the Heluo Li clan. To completely remove them with your current strength would take at least 30 years. You reluctantly decided to temporarily give up. The Heluo Li clan has been passed down from the pre-Qin period to the present, with a history of over 3,000 years. The divine soul imprints left by generations of martial gods are indeed quite troublesome. I wonder if I can use the power of the lightning tribulation to clear them out then. Lu Chengsheng murmured, the power of the lightning tribulation is inherently a bane to the divine soul, and its destructive power against such ownerless divine soul imprints is even greater. Thereafter, you left the secluded valley and went to Danyang County to integrate the Sun Radiance sect and the Divine Moon sect, rebuilding the Bright Divine sect. 1 month later, at the Bright Divine sect's reconstruction ceremony, Wei Taixian, the chief eunuch of the Great Qin dynasty's Directorate of Ceremonial, privately sought you out and asked if you could offer the true dragon remains to the imperial court. You stated directly that you had not obtained any true dragon remains. You had only acquired a drop of true dragon blood from the Heavenly Demon sect's branch in Jinling City. Wei Taixian smiled without speaking, clearly not believing you. Afterward, Jai Xingzi, the head of the Tianji Pavilion, also privately sought you out and asked if you came from the land of Absolute Zero. You also flatly denied it. That night, Jai Xingzi and Wei Taixian jointly attacked you. Knowing that falling into their hands meant certain death, you risked burning your soul power, severely wounding Jai Xingzi, and ultimately perished together with Wei Taixian. 122. Bodhi Cave Heaven, get Zhang Zhao's inheritance. What the hell is a true dragon legacy? Lu Chengsheng never expected that in this simulation, the imperial court would actually team up with Tianji Pavilion to ruthlessly try to kill him. In previous simulations, apart from the time he killed Ying Hengguang, when the imperial court issued a wanted warrant for him, they basically kept to themselves. It seems it can only be because of the Azure Dragon Dharma idol. The 1000 Zhang Azure Dragon Dharma idol was too terrifying, leading the imperial court to mistakenly believe that he had refined a true dragon legacy to condense it. But he hadn't obtained any true dragon legacy at all, he had only refined more than 20 drops of dragon blood. Well, that's also quite outrageous and equally unexplainable. It seems his grievances with the imperial court will continue for a while. First Tianji Pavilion, then the imperial court. I guess I have too many debts to worry about. Lu Chengsheng chuckled, but a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. He was a kind-hearted person. As long as others didn't provoke him first, he wouldn't provoke them. If there were exceptions, they were merely accidental. But if others took the initiative to provoke him, then he was sorry. He would discreetly cultivate for a while, and when his strength grew, he would return it twofold. Choose 1. Recharge. Continue simulation. Recharge successful. Current balance. 1 gold coin. As the system prompt sounded, Lu Chengsheng also felt his divine soul power surge significantly. Consuming 1 gold coin, simulation begins. 17 years old, you killed Li Zizai, the old ancestor of the Li clan. Afterward, you returned to the secluded valley and successively refined the dragon blood and the remaining lightning chi within your body. The power of the Azure Dragon Dharma idol and your divine soul power both increased. Lightning chi can also be repeatedly refined. It seems I'll need to store more during the next undergoing tribulation. Lu Chengsheng stroked his chin. Later, you left the secluded valley and began to live in anonymity. No one knew where you went, and the imperial court and Tianji pavilion collaborated but searched fruitlessly. Someone also sought you out under the pretext of opening the Star Luo sect secret realm, but the spirit cleansing pool was almost useless to you, so you did not show yourself. 18 years old, you unexpectedly encountered Zhang Kaling in Langya Prefecture. At this time, she was being pursued by several 10,000 manifestations sect inner sect disciples. You intervened and saved her, then asked the reason for her pursuit. Zhang Kaling told you that her family was originally from Sishui Prefecture. A year ago, their family's ancestral profound tortoise armor became known to the 10,000 manifestations sect, which led to the extermination of her clan. She narrowly escaped with a 1,000-mile teleportation talisman but ended up on the 10,000 manifestations sect's wanted list. You lovingly stroked her head, then took her with you to wander the world. 19 years old, you brought Zhang Kaling to Guiyuan Prefecture and found Hong Quan, who was currently spreading his teachings, but you did not reveal yourself, instead hiding in the shadows to observe. 20 years old, with the help of the cultivation resources you provided, Zhang Kaling advanced to the Faxiong realm. This year, she was 15 years old. 21 years old, your stellar soul strengthening method entered the 6th layer. Your efficiency in absorbing starlight and converting it into divine soul power increased significantly again. 25 years old, Zhang Kaling entered the law fluid realm. You taught her the divine forging art. 27 years old, Hong Quan went out to visit a friend. You two secretly followed him. 3 months later, on the way back from visiting his friend, Hong Quan's boat passed through the Mist Fiend Sea and encountered a sea storm. You and Zhang Kaling entered it together, and then you were teleported into a cave heaven world. There were hundreds of people teleported by the storm, but apart from you, Zhang Kaling, and Hong Quan, all the others whose realm was below Martial Saint died in the teleportation storm. As soon as Hong Quan woke up, you knocked him unconscious. Afterward, you and Zhang Kaling began to explore this unfamiliar world. This cave heaven world was not large, only the size of 4 or 5 prefectures of the Great Qin dynasty. Humans and Yao race coexisted, but the Yao race's strength held an absolute advantage, and the human race were merely food raised by the Yao race. With your martial god realm strength, you were invincible in this world. In less than a month, you led the enslaved human race to overthrow the Yao race's rule. You even took the strongest among the Yao race, the golden eagle Yao god, as your mount. After establishing a foothold in the unfamiliar world, you learned that this place was called Bodhi Cave Heaven, a Tao field opened by a powerful being from the Bodhi sect, one of the 10 top sects of ancient times. Bodhi Cave Heaven, could it be another legacy place similar to the Star Luo sect secret realm? Lu Chengsheng immediately became spirited. The Star Luo sect's assessment was too abnormal, he couldn't even pass the 6th aptitude test now. He wondered if this Bodhi Cave Heaven would have a similar assessment. Since the ancient war 10,000 years ago, the high-ranking members and elites of the Bodhi sect in Bodhi Cave Heaven have disappeared, leaving only a sect ruin within the Cave Heaven. The sect ruins were protected by a formation, and the beings of the Cave Heaven could not approach. At the periphery of the Bodhi sect ruins, you discovered the legacy left by Zhang Zhao, and you were very happy. Then you teleported Hong Quan, whose karma was complete, out of Bodhi Cave Heaven. Before he left, you even put 100,000 origin stones and a handwritten copy of the humanity's undying scripture into his spatial ring. After Hong Quan woke up on a beach by the Mist Fiend Sea, he discovered the origin stones and cultivation technique in his spatial ring and was overjoyed. He then kowtowed 3 times in the direction of the Mist Fiend Sea, thanking the mysterious expert for the opportunity he had given him. Meanwhile, you began to inventory Zhang Zhao's legacy within the Cave Heaven. The items Zhang Zhao left behind were not many, but each one was very precious. Besides 3 complete volumes of the Great Peace Scripture, and over 130 soul crystals, there were also the 2 soul arts, summoning wind and rain and scattering beams into soldiers. You began to absorb soul crystals to enhance your strength. 29 years old, with the help of a large number of soul crystals, your humanity's undying scripture broke through to the 4th layer, and your divine soul power increased 3-fold. 31 years old, Zhang Kaling advanced to the Fa Dan realm. You taught her the stellar soul strengthening method. 34 years old, your stellar soul strengthening method broke through to the 7th layer. 35 years old, your humanity's undying scripture broke through to the 5th layer, and your divine soul power increased fivefold again. 36 years old, your divine soul power has grown to the limit of your current realm. Only by undergoing tribulation can it increase again. It reached its limit so quickly. Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised. The quantity of divine soul power is most directly related to the essence of the divine soul. If divine soul power is water, then the divine soul essence is the water tank. Only when the water tank expands can it hold more water. Usually, the only way to enlarge the water tank is through undergoing tribulation. But Lu Changsheng was different. He had the simulator. Each lightning tribulation had to be undergone twice, which meant his divine soul essence was far higher than others at the same realm, allowing him to hold more divine soul power. Even so, it was filled in less than 20 years in the simulator. Aside from the help of the humanity's undying scripture and the stellar soul strengthening method, the greatest contributors were those 130+ soul crystals. Cultivating with soul crystals was an extremely luxurious affair, even for a martial god. No wonder Hong Quan could undergo 6 lightning tribulations in just a few decades, leaping from a martial saint to a 6th tribulation martial god. The extent of help these soul crystals provided him was unimaginable. Normally, one would only obtain over 100 soul crystals by refining the divine soul of an 8th tribulation martial god. Zhang Zhao left behind so many soul crystals. He wondered if they were obtained by slaying other martial gods, or by melting down his own divine soul thoughts, or perhaps both. 123. Crossing the 2nd Thunder Tribulation, young God appears for the first time. At 39, you felt that everything was ready and proactively summoned the 2nd Lightning Tribulation. You chose the Bodhi sect ruins as the location for undergoing tribulation, hoping to use the power of the Lightning Tribulation to break through the formation and obtain the treasures within. Subsequently, you officially began undergoing tribulation. Due to your divine soul's essence and soul power being far superior to others at the same realm, the 2nd lightning tribulation could hardly endanger your life. You could even spare energy during undergoing tribulation to draw the heavenly lightning to strike the formation. An hour later, you successfully passed the 2nd lightning tribulation, and your divine soul's essence and soul power greatly increased. At this point, the formation protecting the Bodhi sect ruins also suffered significant damage, allowing temporary entry and exit. You exclaimed, calling it a double blessing, and were about to enter when dark devilish chi continuously surged from the damaged part of the formation. All living beings that touched the devilish chi transformed into grotesque demonic creatures. You were greatly astonished and prepared to escape the Bodhi cave heaven with Zhang Kaling. At this moment, a red-haired monster emerged from the dark devilish chi and swallowed both you and Zhang Kaling whole. You died. A red-haired monster. Lu Changsheng never expected that the formation was not protecting the Bodhi sect ruins, but rather the myriad living beings of the Bodhi cave heaven. Fortunately, this time he passed the 2nd lightning tribulation. He currently only had these 2 soul crystals, and if he used them all up without achieving a breakthrough in realm, he would truly be heartbroken. But what was the origin of this red-haired monster? He had already passed 2 lightning tribulations in the simulator, yet he was still utterly powerless against it. How strong was its actual power? 7 tribulation, 8 tribulation, or 9 tribulation? Why did Zhang Zhao leave his legacy on the outskirts of such a dangerous Bodhi sect ruins? Doing so also led Lu Changsheng to believe that there were good things inside that even Zhang Zhao, an 8th tribulation martial god, yearned for. Could it be that Zhang Zhao, having committed too much slaughter, suffered an ominous old age, grew red hair all over his body, and then hastily left his legacy before sealing himself inside? Although this conjecture was wild, it wasn't impossible. And where did the vanished Bodhi sect elders and disciples ultimately go? Did they completely perish in the ancient war, or did they go somewhere else? This simulation not only yielded Zhang Zhao's legacy, but Lu Changsheng also seemed to be one step closer to the truth of the ancient war. Simulation ended, you may retain one of the following. 1. The cultivation realm at 39 years old. 2. The cultivation experience at 39 years old. Choose one. Immediately, the situation where the divine soul was continuously destroyed and reshaped reappeared. This transformation gradually disappeared after half an hour. Lu Changsheng's divine soul emergence revealed that his soul body glowed with a luli-like luster. This is a young god. He felt the changes in his soul body, somewhat shocked. A young god is a transformation that only occurs in a martial god who has passed the fourth lightning tribulation. He had currently passed 2 lightning tribulations in the simulator and 1 in reality, totaling only 3. How could such a change occur? The only explanation might be that in this simulation, he chose to undergoing tribulation only after maximizing his soul power. Liu Changsheng had already passed 2 lightning tribulations before, and his divine soul's essence was not much weaker than a 2 tribulation martial god. Now, his soul power was instantly filled. Perhaps due to the existence of this immense soul power, Liu Changsheng's divine soul, during this undergoing tribulation, had no choice but to begin its transformation from yin to yang prematurely. For most martial gods, filling up their soul power in just 100 years is simply impossible, filling even a third would be impressive. Liu Changsheng achieved this step with the help of a large number of soul crystals. He never expected that he had only passed 3 lightning tribulations, or strictly speaking, 2 stages of lightning tribulation, yet his divine soul was already comparable to a martial god who had passed 4 stages of lightning tribulation. There's another one coming right after this. How are other martial gods supposed to live? Boom! Just as Liu Changsheng was happily contemplating, a thunderclap exploded in the sky. This lightning tribulation didn't give Liu Changsheng any time to proactively trigger it, it simply arrived, sensing him. With a thought, Liu Changsheng's divine soul appeared high in the sky, only dozens of feet from the edge of the thundercloud. During the previous undergoing tribulation, the thundercloud still gave Liu Changsheng a tremendous sense of oppression. This time, the lightning brewing in the thundercloud was more powerful, yet it gave Liu Changsheng a feeling of nothing more than this. Because although the power of the thundercloud increased, Liu Changsheng's soul power increased even more significantly. It even far exceeded the leap from the first stage of lightning tribulation to the second, directly reaching a level comparable to the fourth stage of lightning tribulation. Humanity's undying, legacy eternal. Liu Changsheng activated humanity's undying scripture, and his young god seemed to transform into a ball of flame, fiercely charging into the dark clouds. Boom, boom. Seeing Liu Changsheng actively rush into the thundercloud, terrifying heavenly lightning bolts struck one after another. Liu Changsheng's eyes gleamed like lightning as he looked at the incoming lightning. A slight smile played on his lips. Facing such a dangerous situation, he actually wore a smile. Ha! Liu Changsheng opened his mouth and inhaled, and the first 3 lightning bolts that struck were actually sucked into his abdomen. Even for a young god, the interior is far more fragile than the exterior. This is caused by the structure of the soul body. Because the transformation from yin to yang begins from the outside first. From the outside in, eventually transforming the entire yin god into a yang god. Liu Changsheng's current yang god is similar to a 4 tribulation martial god, with only the surface possessing yang god characteristics, while the interior is still a fragile yin god. But this was intentional on Liu Changsheng's part. The second lightning tribulation basically causes no harm to a yang god. Only by swallowing the lightning into his abdomen and refining the yin god can he achieve the effect of enhancing his divine soul's essence. It's just that the process is somewhat painful, requiring him to endure the suffering of 10,000 bolts of lightning devouring his heart. However, Liu Changsheng believed this hardship was worth it. Lightning tribulation, after all, is for the purpose of increasing strength. Otherwise, what's the point of undergoing tribulation? The lightning kept striking, and Liu Changsheng paid no attention to whether it hit him or not. He just kept devouring it, as if he had been locked up in a place and starved for 800 years before escaping. That's enough. After half an hour, a good deal of the yin qi inside Liu Changsheng's soul body was washed away by the lightning, and his divine soul's essence increased another notch. At this point, he could already feel that the effect of this second stage of lightning tribulation on him was getting weaker and weaker, almost to the point of being non-existent. With a wave of his yang god, a huge black stone mill flew up from below and entered the thundercloud. It was precisely the medium-grade Dao weapon obtained from Li Zizai, the world-destroying millstone. The power of a medium-grade Dao weapon goes without saying. It is highly lethal to all martial gods below 7 tribulation. Liu Changsheng had now passed another lightning tribulation, and his divine soul's essence was infinitely close to a 5 tribulation martial god. This world-destroying millstone was still of great use to him. However, the world-destroying millstone contained the divine soul imprints left by generations of Li clan martial gods. These divine soul imprints were like encrypted passwords, preventing anyone outside the Li clan from using it. What Liu Changsheng wanted to do was see if he could use the lightning tribulation to quickly clear away these passwords. 124. Erasing the mark of the soul, Dapeng soars to 90,000 miles. Boom! The heavenly lightning continued to strike, and Lu Changsheng, controlling the world-destroying millstone, charged directly towards the destructive lightning. Buzz! The heavenly lightning struck the world-destroying millstone, causing it to hum incessantly, and the divine soul imprints within it continuously melted away under this destructive force that specifically countered divine souls. The speed was not fast, but it was countless times faster than Lu Changsheng refining it himself. Very good, it seems the power of the lightning tribulation truly has a miraculous effect on it. Lu Changsheng's young god smiled, then carried the world-destroying millstone and rushed into the deeper sea of lightning. Boom! The lightning tribulation seemed to be enraged, as streaks of lightning poured down like rain. Lu Changsheng's young god not only showed no fear but instead had a look of joy. The fiercer the lightning tribulation, the faster it could cleanse the divine soul imprints within the world-destroying millstone. Dozens of miles away, at the Thousand Sword Sect's mountain gate. Looking at the world-destroying lightning tribulation not far away, many elders and disciples were terrified and uneasy, and at the same time, they were greatly puzzled. Didn't a lightning tribulation just descend in that place a dozen days ago? Why is there another lightning tribulation with an even greater momentum now? Last time, someone was undergoing tribulation. This time, it couldn't possibly be someone undergoing tribulation there again, could it? Regarding this question, Grand Elder Gongxu was equally puzzled. He even risked personally going to investigate. Outside the thunderclouds, he observed from afar for a long time before flying back. Grand Elder, what's the result? Seeing Gongxu return, the high-ranking members of the Thousand Sword Sect immediately gathered around him. I didn't see any figures in the thunderclouds, so this time it should be a naturally occurring thunderstorm. Gongxu's words made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. A naturally formed thunderstorm was undoubtedly much safer than a man-made undergoing tribulation. Thunderstorms formed by nature generally dissipate on their own after a short while. However, when a person is undergoing tribulation, the thunderclouds will lock onto the person's location and move with them. If the person undergoing tribulation accidentally passed by the Thousand Sword Sect, or if the undergoing tribulation was about to fail and they intentionally vented their unwillingness and anger, it would be a catastrophic disaster for the Thousand Sword Sect. Finally, we don't have to be on tenterhooks. Yes, let's lift the sect's martial law, everyone is safe. I just said, how could anyone undergo 2 consecutive tribulations there? The Grand Elder said it was a natural thunderstorm, how could it be false? Look, what's that? Just as everyone was feeling relieved, someone suddenly pointed at the thunderstorm not far away and exclaimed. Deep within the thunderclouds, a black shadow grew larger and larger, quickly tearing open the thunderclouds and revealing its true form. It was a giant black millstone. The black millstone was divided into upper and lower layers, and as it slowly rotated, even the thunderclouds were crushed into pieces. That is, the Heluo Li clan's world-destroying millstone. Someone said in shock. At this point, someone corrected him. The Heluo Li clan's world-destroying millstone changed hands a few days ago and is now in the hands of a martial god named Lu Changsheng. Even the Li clan's old ancestor, Li Zizai, died at his hands. So, could it be that martial god Lu is undergoing tribulation here? And that world-destroying millstone must have the divine soul imprints of successive martial gods of the Li clan. How did he manage to control it so freely? Everyone chattered, discussing animatedly. Lu Changsheng being able to use the world-destroying millstone to crush the lightning tribulation must mean he has refined it to an extremely deep level. Looking at the scale of this lightning tribulation, it's only at the level of a second lightning tribulation. Although Lu Changsheng's strength is incredibly powerful and he can fight above his level, the essence of the divine soul has no shortcuts and can basically only be improved through undergoing tribulation. With his current divine soul power, how could he achieve such rapid refinement? One must know, the world-destroying millstone is a medium-grade Dao weapon, even without the divine soul imprints of others. For a 1 tribulation or 2 tribulation martial god, it would still take a considerable amount of time to refine. Just as everyone was racking their brains, a small piece of thundercloud suddenly, precisely, landed on the Thousand Sword Peaks Plaza. Before anyone could dodge, they were electrocuted until they were charred on the outside and tender on the inside, and even their hairstyles uniformly became explosive. Cough cough. Grand Elder Gongxu crawled up from the ground, coughing out a few mouthfuls of black smoke. With such precision, speed, and perfectly timed intensity, it looked like it was done on purpose. Perhaps these guys were gossiping here, and the martial god senior heard it, intentionally giving them a small warning. With a martial god's divine thought, it's very easy to cover this area. Watching the thunderclouds in the sky gradually dissipate, Gongshu Jie thought to himself, it seems I need to visit and apologize as soon as possible. Being targeted by a martial god sent shivers down Gongshu Jie's spine just thinking about it. However, when he washed up and went to find Lu Changsheng, he found that the place was already empty, with only lingering strong divine soul fluctuations proving that a martial god had cultivated there not long ago. The rock rises with the wind in a single day, soaring 90,000 li into the sky. Lu Changsheng used the great rock spreading wings technique from the humanity's undying scripture, his young god transforming into a giant rock that blotted out the sky, with his physical body seated in the center. A single flap of his wings could carry him thousands of miles. After 8 or 9 consecutive flaps, he had already reached Changshan Prefecture, 10,000 miles away. With such lightning-fast speed, a surge of boundless heroic spirit welled up in Lu Changsheng's heart. Any prefecture in the Great Qin dynasty is several times larger than the land of Absolute Zero, and there are a total of 108 such prefectures. Previously, Lu Changsheng always felt that the Great Qin dynasty's territory was vast and boundless. Now, it seemed, it was nothing more than that. With his current strength, his stage was no longer limited to the Great Qin dynasty, but the entire Tianyuan continent. I hope it's not too late. Lu Changsheng was currently traveling as a rock, naturally not for sightseeing. His direction was precisely Sishui Prefecture. In the previous simulation, Zhang Kailing said her family lived in Sishui Prefecture, but because her family's ancestral profound tortoise armor became known to the 10,000 Manifestations sect, her family was tragically wiped out. And the time was this very year. The profound tortoise armor could be used to condense a black tortoise Dharma idol. While Dharma idols were useless to other martial gods, they still had great use for Lu Changsheng, who could constantly simulate. If Zhang Kailing's family had already been wiped out at this time and the profound tortoise armor had been taken back to the 10,000 Manifestation sect, it would indeed be a bit troublesome. Lu Changsheng naturally wouldn't fear the martial gods of the 10,000 Manifestation sect. Currently, as long as they were martial gods below 6 tribulations, as long as it wasn't a group attack, they posed no great threat to Lu Changsheng. However, the 10,000 Manifestation sect's mountain gate was their lair, protected by formations that had been constantly perfected and strengthened over countless years. A direct assault would indeed be a bit difficult. The Heluo Li clan and other aristocratic families were also like this. Now, Lu Changsheng only hoped that the Zhang family had not yet been wiped out. In that case, it would be much easier for him to obtain the profound tortoise armor. Sishui Prefecture. The wind howled, and the rain poured down. A thatched hut by the Lingchu River was swaying precariously, seeming as if it could be washed away by the heavy rain at any moment. Inside the thatched hut, however, sounds of sobbing could be heard. A girl of 11 or 12, covered in mud, buried her head deep in the embrace of a purple-robed woman, sobbing softly, her body trembling uncontrollably from overwhelming grief. The purple-robed woman sighed deeply, stroking the girl's head and saying, "Kailing, you are the most dazzling talent in martial Dao the Zhang family has ever had. As long as you can survive, I believe one day you will be able to avenge your parents and the Zhang family." "Can I really get revenge?" Zhang Kailing raised her head, a hint of confusion flashing in her eyes. Although she was young, she knew the great names among the 3 teachings and 6 sects. The one that annihilated the Zhang family this time was the 10,000 Manifestations sect, one of them. Even if she became a martial god, the hope of revenge was probably very slim. 125. Martial god of Wanxiang sect, Cao Heng is shocked. Boom. Just then, the purple-clothed woman, who was about to continue comforting her, suddenly felt 3 extremely powerful auras rapidly approaching, heading straight for the thatched hut. Oh no, the 10,000 Manifestations sect's pursuers are here. The purple-clothed woman paled with shock. The next moment, she fiercely grabbed Zhang Kailing's arm and threw her out with great force. Caught off guard, Zhang Kailing flew backward, crashed through the wall of the thatched hut, and fell into the mud and water more than 10 meters away. "Run, hurry and run, don't look back." Amidst the heavy rain, the purple-clothed woman's shrill cry reached Zhang Kailing's ears. Afterward, the purple-clothed woman charged towards those 3 powerful figures. "Aunt May." In the mud, Zhang Kailing looked up at the purple-clothed woman's back. An indescribable sorrow surged from the bottom of her heart. Ha 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 ha, a mere law fluid realm cultivator dares to block the three of his Fadan realm cultivators. At this moment, the three figures also arrived. 2 men and 1 woman, with the heavy rain separated by the spiritual power emanating from their bodies. The sword-bearing man on the far left laughed wildly. Senior brother Cao Heng, stop wasting words with her. Let's quickly kill them both so we can go back and report. The woman in the middle urged with a coquettish tone. Before Cao Heng could reply, he saw the purple-clothed woman, who had rushed closer, flash a look of determination in her eyes, and then her entire body exploded with a bang. After an earth-shattering explosion, the three emerged from the blood mist somewhat disheveled. They hadn't expected this woman to possess such courage, willing to self-destruct to buy time for her young master. Of course, a law fluid realm cultivator's self-destruction would at most cause minor superficial injuries to the three of them. However, if word got out, it would likely invite ridicule from their fellow disciples. When the three of them turned their angry attention to Zhang Kaling, the sole survivor of the Zhang family, they saw her pull out a talisman inscribed with profound runes. Oh no, it's a 10,000-mile teleportation talisman. The three's expressions drastically changed. They were only a few hundred meters away from Zhang Kaling, which meant they could reach her in an instant. However, after the purple-clothed woman's self-destruction delayed them, Zhang Kaling had already activated the power of the 10,000-mile teleportation talisman, and her body gradually became illusory. Father, Mother, Aunt May, I will definitely avenge you all in the future. Zhang Kaling's gaze shifted from sorrow to determination. Originally, she had intended to escape with Aunt May. However, the 10,000 manifestations sect didn't even give her that chance. Now, she was the only one left of the Zhang family, and she had to survive and personally seek justice from the 10,000 manifestations sect one day. I didn't expect a mere martial saint family to possess such a rare item as the 10,000-mile teleportation talisman. Fortunately, I secretly followed along, otherwise, this little girl really would have escaped. Just as the 10,000-mile teleportation talisman was about to be fully activated, a long sigh suddenly came from the sky. Afterward, a tall, ethereal figure with an immortal and Taoist demeanor appeared in midair. As soon as the ethereal figure appeared, Zhang Kaling noticed that the surrounding space had become as hard as iron, and the 10,000-mile teleportation talisman showed no further reaction. Martial God. Zhang Kaling had been knowledgeable since childhood and knew that this kind of power, which almost froze space, could only be possessed by a martial god. Her small face instantly turned pale, and her expression became ashen. Greetings, Grand Elder. Cao Heng and the other two immediately bowed in salute. The three were very ashamed. As true disciples of the 10,000 manifestation sect, they almost failed in their pursuit of 2 remnants of a martial saint family, forcing Grand Elder Luo Song to personally intervene. Luo Song did not blame them. After all, the 10,000-mile teleportation talisman was extremely rare even among the 3 teachings and 6 sects. One could only say that it was indeed a family with the profound tortoise armor passed down from their ancestors. Their foundation was unusually profound. Good aptitude, but unfortunately. The tall ethereal figure looked at Zhang Kaling and shook his head. No matter how good her aptitude, she had a blood feud with the 10,000 manifestation sect. Luo Song had a sudden premonition today and came specifically to cut the grass and eradicate the roots. Otherwise, if another prodigy similar to Lu Changsheng appeared, the 10,000 manifestations sect would also have a very difficult time. Although such a possibility was very small, what he needed to do was nip it in the bud. The tall ethereal figure pointed a finger, and the wind and clouds changed dramatically. Countless raindrops formed a giant translucent finger, pressing down on Zhang Kaling. Zhang Kaling closed her eyes in despair. Her world turned black. Then, only a scream was heard. Wait, that scream wasn't hers. Zhang Kaling opened her eyes again. She saw that her world was still black. Only this time, it wasn't because she had closed her eyes, but because a monstrous creature that blotted out the sky appeared above the clouds. It looked very much like a rock. But whose rock could be so large that it blocked all the light from the sky? And the 10,000 manifestations sect martial god ethereal figure had disappeared at some unknown point. Only a pathetic old man with a large hole in his chest, groaning on the ground, appeared not far away. Grand Elder. Cao Heng and the other two paled with shock. Zhang Kaling had closed her eyes just now, but Cao Heng and the other two had seen it clearly. Just as Grand Elder Luo Song was about to kill Zhang Kailing, a rock that blotted out the sky suddenly appeared, and with just one claw, it shattered Luo Song's attack and his divine soul ethereal figure. The remaining power struck his physical body, creating a large hole in his chest. If Luo Song weren't a martial god with strong vitality, anyone else, even a Fa Dan realm martial saint, would have died beyond all doubt. Luo Song had already survived 3 lightning tribulations. Who exactly was this person, and how could a casual strike leave him half dead? As for whether this rock was a Yao race powerhouse, the few of them hadn't even considered it. Firstly, the rock clan had no Yao gods, and secondly, this rock had a strong divine soul aura. This was clearly a strange beast formed by the manifestation of a divine soul. Only, this strange beast was incredibly massive, with a wingspan of several thousand zhang, which was tens of thousands of meters. From this, one could see how profound this person's soul power was. At the very least, it would take a 5 tribulation or 6 tribulation martial god to possess such profound soul power. The most powerful martial god in the 10,000 manifestation sect, Sect Master Shu Zongwu, had only passed 5 lightning tribulations. When had they provoked such a terrifying enemy? Just as the few of them were filled with doubt and uncertainty, the light in the sky brightened again. The rock that had blotted out the sky had disappeared at some unknown point, and the figure of a white-clothed youth descended from the sky. He is Liu Changsheng. Cao Heng and the others were utterly horrified. Currently, the Great Qin dynasty's recording stones about Liu Changsheng had been selling like crazy. Whether it was the 3 teachings and 6 sects or the various major aristocratic families, they were all warning their disciples or clansmen never to provoke this person. There was no enmity between their 10,000 manifestations sect and Liu Changsheng, and the great 5 elements sword formation in this person's hands was even suspected to have come from Zhang Shenshou, a deceased true disciple of the 10,000 manifestations sect. Why, then, would this person suddenly attack the Grand Elder? And with lethal intent, at that. Could it be that this person had old ties with the Zhang family, or was he also here for the profound tortoise armor? Unaware of Liu Changsheng's intentions, Cao Heng and the other 2 dared not act rashly, not even daring to help the Grand Elder who was groaning in the mud. Where is the profound tortoise armor? Hand it over. Liu Changsheng approached Luo Song, who was lying on the ground groaning in pain, and kicked him twice. This caused a surge of anger in Luo Song's heart. If you want something, just ask for it. Why kick me twice? Don't I have any face in front of my juniors? But at the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. Since the other party's goal was the profound tortoise armor, it seemed his old life was saved today. Liu Changsheng gave him a terrifying feeling. Even after taking a heavy blow, he had no thought of fighting back, instead lying on the ground, continuously showing weakness. 126. This father-son game, Dao Bing Huoling Bottle. Since he had figured out the other party's intention, he stopped pretending. Luo Song nimbly climbed up from the ground, his face wreathed in smiles as he took out the profound tortoise armor from his storage ring. Looking at him, he didn't resemble a martial god at all, instead, he looked like a street vendor. This left Cao Heng and the others dumbfounded. Seeing the expressions of Cao Heng and the others, Luo Song thought to himself, it seems that after dealing with this person later, I'll have to put in some effort to erase this section of memory from these 3 disciples, lest it spread and damage my lifelong reputation. Not bad. Liu Changsheng took the profound tortoise armor and examined it carefully. It looked like an ordinary brown tortoise shell, but the ancient aura on it was no less potent than that of true dragon blood. He believed that with just this one piece of profound tortoise armor, a complete profound tortoise dharma idol could be condensed. No wonder the 10,000 manifestations sect made such a big fuss. Your Excellency, may I leave now? Seeing that Liu Changsheng was very satisfied, Luo Song cautiously asked. You may go. I don't kill old geezers. Liu Changsheng waved his hand, as if shooing away a fly. Luo Song was immediately overjoyed, while Zhang Kailing's expression dimmed. Sure enough, this mysterious powerful expert also didn't want to offend the 10,000 manifestations sect. However, just as Luo Song turned around and walked a few steps, a strong sense of danger immediately flared up in his heart. He tapped his foot and moved away from Liu Changsheng like a fleeting shadow. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Amidst the air explosion, a cyan fist print appeared on his back, then quickly burst open, like a bloody firework. A black shadow flew out from Luo Song's shattered corpse, it was his yin divine soul. However, before it could escape far, a terrifying giant mouth in the sky sucked fiercely, directly swallowing Luo Song's yin divine soul in one gulp. All of this happened in a flash. When Cao Heng and the others came to their senses, they only saw a giant coonfish swimming in midair. The giant coonfish quickly shrank, turning into a small fish, and leapt into Lu Chengsheng's sea of consciousness. This was precisely the Kunming fish leap technique from the humanity's undying scripture. The fish transforming into a coonfish possessed powerful devouring ability, making it perfect for suppressing Luo Song's divine soul. Cao Heng and the three true disciples were shocked. They never expected that this martial god, whose strength was enough to crush the Grand Elder, would still resort to sneak attacks. They didn't know that Lu Chengsheng was afraid Luo Song would burn his soul power to fight to the death, as that would result in the loss of his soul crystal. "What are your names?" After killing Luo Song, Lu Chengsheng turned his gaze to Cao Heng and the other two. Junior Cao Heng, true disciple of Four Saints Peak. Junior Zhang Jing, true disciple of Profound Tortoise Peak. Junior Su Ruolin, true disciple of Vermilion Bird Peak. Seeing this, the three quickly introduced themselves. Then, disregarding the mud on the ground, they all knelt down and kowtowed in unison, saying, "Please spare our lives, Senior." "Spare your lives? If I'm not mistaken, what you're holding is a communication stone, isn't it?" Lu Chengsheng looked at one of them with a half-smile. Cao Heng's expression froze. He spread his right hand, revealing a yellow stone that looked very much like a primeval stone, and said with a flattering smile, "Senior, you've made a mistake. This is just an ordinary primeval stone, which Junior uses to replenish his magic power. I don't like people who lie in front of me." Lu Chengsheng shook his head. He could still distinguish the fluctuations of a communication stone. Then he flicked his finger. Bang! Cao Heng's body directly exploded into a mist of blood. Zhang Jing and Su Ruolin's faces turned pale. These two were martial god seeds of the 10,000 Manifestation sect. Were they all going to die here today? "Your Excellency, why did you kill my 10,000 Manifestation sect elder?" Just as the two were despairing, a majestic figure descended grandly over the Lingchu River. Zhang Jing and Su Ruolin were overjoyed to see the newcomer and shouted in unison, "Sect Master, save us!" Xu Zongwu of the 10,000 Manifestation sect. But distant water cannot quench immediate thirst. A slight curve appeared at the corner of Lu Chengsheng's mouth. He pointed his finger twice in the air, and Zhang Jing and Su Ruolin also exploded into two blood mists. Since he had already thoroughly offended the 10,000 Manifestation sect, he didn't mind having two more lives on his hands. "How dare you!" The figure in the high sky, seeing this, roared in anger and slashed down with a sword light. The sword light struck the ground, and a roaring sound came. The Lingchu River, several miles wide, was evaporated by the aftermath of the sword light. At this moment, the Lingchu River was cut off. And where Lu Chengsheng and Zhang Keling had just stood, there was now a gully over 1,000 meters deep. Closing her eyes, Zhang Keling, who had thought she would die under the sword light, suddenly felt her body lighten. The sound of wind came to her ears, and when she opened her eyes again, she saw a gentle, jade-like profile. "It's the martial god Senior from before. He saved me again." Zhang Keling's gratitude grew even stronger. Coupled with Lu Chengsheng killing the culprit who forced Aunt Mei to her death, it made her feel an indescribable trust and fondness for Lu Chengsheng. At this moment, Lu Chengsheng had already embraced Zhang Keling and came to stand opposite Xu Zongwu. He saw that this was a middle-aged man with temples streaked with white, but his gaze towards Lu Chengsheng was filled with rage. "Sect Master Xu, calm down. Look, isn't your Grand Elder's divine soul still here?" Lu Chengsheng held Zhang Keling with one hand and took out a round soul power cage with the other. A massive grayish-white mist was trapped inside. Upon seeing Xu Zongwu, the grayish-white mist immediately formed Luo Song's aged face, and his mouth continuously let out cries of, "Save me! Tell me, what will it take for you to release him?" No matter how angry Xu Zongwu was, with the hostage in Lu Chengsheng's hands, he had no choice but to calm down. 5 soul crystals, Lu Chengsheng stated directly. "I don't have 5 soul crystals. Let alone 5, I don't even have 1. Xu Zongwu shook his head. How rare were soul crystals? Even if he had them, he would have refined them himself long ago. "Xu Zongwu, I am your father. Blood is thicker than water. To save a few soul crystals, you won't even save your own father." Before Lu Chengsheng could speak, Luo Song's divine soul couldn't help but roar. Lu Chengsheng looked on as if watching a good show. According to some fragmented memories of Li Zizai, there had always been rumors in the martial god circle that Grand Elder Luo Song had lived 2 lives, and in his previous life, he was Xu Zongwu's biological father, which was why he could always suppress Xu Zongwu, a 5 tribulation martial god, within the sect. He never expected this rumor to be true. Although Luo Song looked old, his age in this life was far less than Xu Zongwu's. It was just that he broke through to martial god later, and in his early years, he had many concubines, greatly consuming his essence and qi, which was why he looked like a decrepit old man. It seemed this was a father-son match. Xu Zongwu's expression turned cold. He said coldly, "I helped you overcome 3 lightning tribulations, which has already repaid the kindness of your previous life. Don't even think of using this to threaten me. So what, if I'm your father for 1 day, I'm your father for life. If you don't save me, you're being unfilial. Let's see how you'll overcome your heart demon tribulation in the future." Luo Song remained relentless, seemingly determined to take advantage of this identity to control Xu Zongwu. Xu Zongwu was expressionless. Finally, he sighed deeply and, with a flip of his hand, took out a white jade bottle, saying, "I truly don't have soul crystals on me. This is a medium-grade Dao weapon, the spirit transformation bottle, which I accidentally obtained from an ancient ruin. Not only can it store divine souls, but it can also accelerate the refinement of soul power into soul crystals. Its value definitely exceeds 5 soul crystals. How about I use it as collateral for the soul crystals?" Hearing the effects of the spirit transformation bottle, Lu Chengsheng's eyes lit up. He immediately took the spirit transformation bottle, saying, "No problem," while stuffing Luo Song's divine soul into the bottle. 127. Top-grade Dao Bing Xuantian Shield. A filial son. "Your Excellency, why do you go back on your word?" Seeing Lu Chengsheng's actions, Xu Zongwu could no longer control his anger. 4 layers of hazy light suddenly appeared on his body. Azure, white, red, and black alternated, then transformed into the forms of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and profound tortoise. The 4 divine beasts were lifelike and vivid. The 10,000 manifestations sect's signature divine skill, 4 symbols mysterious skill. The complete 4 symbols mysterious skill, of course, was not as simple as merely refining a Dharma image, it also included divine soul secret techniques and soul arts. 4 symbols unite, annihilate heaven and earth. The figures of the 4 divine beasts slowly overlapped, actually transforming into a monster with a dragon head, tiger body, vermilion bird claws, and profound tortoise tail. When that monster clawed down, even space shattered layer by layer, revealing in profound and deep darkness. Seeing that the monster could even shatter the void realm, Lu Chengsheng's expression became solemn. At this moment, he held Zhang Kaling with one hand and the spirit transformation bottle with the other, his hands occupied, but this did not stump him. Peacock King of Brightness, Great 5 Elements Sword Qi. Lu Chengsheng's soul power emanated outwards, forming 8 arms on his back, each holding a sword peak, and all simultaneously slashed upwards. Rumble. 8 sword lights shot up into the sky, majestic as pillars, shattering the vermilion bird's claw and enveloping the monster. In a moment, the sword light disappeared, and the monster with the dragon head and tiger body was seen, its body shattered into dozens of pieces, the large dragon head's eyes wide with fury, seemingly unwilling to die. The soul art unleashed by a dignified 5 tribulation martial god was actually broken so easily by a 2 tribulation martial god. This was not over. 5 more sword mountains quickly rose from the ground beside Lu Chengsheng, their sword qi piercing directly into the clouds, pulverizing the clouds in the sky. "How about it, Sect Master Xu, would you like to try the power of my Great 5 Elements sword formation?" Xu Zongwu naturally knew the reputation of the Great 5 Elements sword formation, and he also knew that this was not its most powerful moment. When Lu Chengsheng simultaneously unleashed 8 sets of Great 5 Elements sword formation and stacked them, that was truly world-destroying. But facing Lu Chengsheng's martial threat, he did not show weakness, instead, he silently took out a black shield. The black shield stood in front of Xu Zongwu, emitting a black glow that enveloped him, giving off an aura of invincibility against all laws. This black shield was precisely the 10,000 manifestations sect's treasured artifact, the famous high-grade Dao soldier, profound heaven shield. With Xu Zongwu's 5 tribulation strength, and wielding this profound heaven shield, even a 6 tribulation or even 7 tribulation martial god would find it difficult to harm him. Xu Zongwu's meaning was also very clear. No matter how powerful your Great 5 Elements sword formation is, it may not necessarily be able to harm me. Contradiction, contradiction. This was about seeing whether the spear was stronger or the shield was stronger. As they fought, it suddenly escalated to a philosophical height. The two stood in confrontation for a long time, and finally, Lu Changsheng glanced at the weather and said with a smile, "The rain has stopped, so I won't bother you anymore. I'm leaving." After speaking, he took Zhang Keling and transformed into a rainbow light, flying away. Xu Zongwu did not pursue him. The anger and gloom on his face also turned into a calm expression. "Old fellow, I finally waited for this day." Then he subtly glanced at a certain place, where several massive divine thoughts were hidden. Luo Song was like a persistent parasite, tormenting him for hundreds of years. If it weren't for putting on a show for these few fellows just now, he wouldn't even have bothered to make a move. After Xu Zongwu also left, those massive divine thoughts finally began to communicate. "I remember Lu Changsheng just passed his first lightning tribulation not long ago, right? It's been less than 10 days, and he's already passed his second lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation is secondary. Didn't you notice that his strength growth is too abnormal? Whose strength increases so much after one tribulation? One tribulation almost catches up to others 2 or 3. Indeed, even Xu Zongwu retreated, and he has passed 5 lightning tribulations. With so many anomalies on this kid, could he be the demon star that Tianji Pavilion has been searching for? Who cares who he is? In any case, in the short term, he can't hope to shake the position of our 3 teachings and 6 sects. I think we can give Tianji Pavilion some trouble, let them test this kid's depth. If they can take him down directly, that's best. If both sides are hurt, we can also reap the benefits. ... This Xu Zongwu is truly a filial son. In a small city's inn called Yangdan City, tens of thousands of miles away, Lu Changsheng sat by the bed, looking at Luo Song's divine soul in the spirit transformation bottle, which was constantly screaming miserably, a hint of a smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. This spirit transformation bottle was indeed a good item. It could accelerate his soul refining speed tenfold. What might have originally taken 2 or 3 days to refine into a soul crystal now only took a few hours. Efficiency had undoubtedly greatly improved. He carefully recalled the situation at the time. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed as if Xu Zongwu had intentionally given him the spirit transformation bottle. There wasn't even Xu Zongwu's divine soul imprint on this spirit transformation bottle. In fact, battles between martial gods rarely occurred, because the number of martial gods was extremely scarce, and the resources in the world were completely sufficient for everyone, so many times, people valued harmony for wealth. The spirit transformation bottle was undoubtedly a useless item in Xu Zongwu's hands. So, Lu Changsheng could understand why there was no divine soul imprint. But handing it over to him was quite unexpected. He had severely tricked Li Zizai a while ago. Xu Zongwu couldn't possibly be unaware of this. Yet he still dared to hand the spirit transformation bottle to him. It could only be said that Xu Zongwu was indeed a filial son, taking great pains to make his father suffer less. As for Zhang Keling, she was sleeping soundly on the inner side of the large bed. Even in her sleep, she was clutching Lu Changsheng's clothes with her small hand, as if afraid he would run away. She seemed quite attached to Lu Changsheng. But this wasn't normal. After just experiencing a massacre and being abducted by a strange uncle who refined souls, shouldn't you be panicking or feeling anxious? Why did you just fall asleep? Lu Changsheng looked at Zhang Keling at this moment, and he actually had a feeling of fated bad karma. His original goal was the profound tortoise armor. Since he conveniently saved Zhang Keling, he certainly couldn't just abandon her to fend for herself. After all, she and Lu Changsheng still had a few karmic connections. With Lu Changsheng's current strength, finding her a good place was not difficult. Or simply follow the timeline in the simulator and let her become Gao Hongyang's disciple. Anyway, he was now nominally the successor of the Bright Divine Sect's lineage, considered an old ancestor of the Sun Radiance sect and the Divine Moon sect. However, his current strength was barely enough for self-preservation and not yet invincible, so there was no need to rush to meet these disciples and grand disciples. Time flew by. 3 hours later, Luo Song's soul power had been refined into 4 soul crystals by Lu Changsheng. In this, the spirit transformation bottle naturally played a monumental role. At this time, Zhang Keling also woke up. Lu Changsheng then had the waiter bring a table of signature dishes, which Zhang Keling ate with great relish, her mouth greasy. After the meal, considering that Zhang Keling had just experienced a massacre, and to let her experience the beauty of the world, Lu Changsheng specially took her out for a few strolls. After a few strolls, whether she witnessed the beauty of the world or not was unknown. But she did encounter many hooligans, thieves, gang members, and beggars. Compared to this place, Jinling City, which had a heavenly demon sect branch, actually became a paradise. It was also possible that this small city's location was too remote, with nothing much to gain, so the government was too lazy to govern it. Don't look at Zhang Kaling being only 12 years old. She already had the strength of Dao Body Realm First Heaven, which was more than enough to deal with those troublesome hooligans. However, although Zhang Kaling was young, she already possessed a hint of captivating beauty. How could they be rewarded? Ultimately, Lu Chengsheng personally took action. Anyone who lacked discernment and dared to cause trouble would have their memories directly modified, making them charge at the government. This also added some difficulty for the government officials, lest they be idle all day. 128. Assassinating the Qin Emperor, strength increases dramatically. After strolling around for a few circles, dusk was approaching, so Lu Chengsheng took Zhang Kaling back to the inn. Zhang Kaling obediently fell asleep, while Lu Chengsheng opened the simulator. A simulation costs 2 gold, current balance is 0. Do you wish to recharge? Recharge 2 soul crystals first. Seeing that the price increase wasn't too outrageous, Lu Chengsheng breathed a sigh of relief. Currently, Lu Chengsheng had a total of 4 soul crystals, enough for 2 simulations. Recharge successful. Current balance is 2 gold. Do you wish to start the simulation immediately? Yes. 2 gold consumed, simulation begins. At 17, you underwent tribulation twice, slaying Luo Song, the Grand Elder of the 10,000 Manifestations sect, and extorting Xu Zongwu, the sect master of 10,000 Manifestations. This caused quite a stir among the human race's high-ranking officials. Due to your excessive prominence, Tianji Pavilion began to fully collect your information. Soon, they dug up all your experiences in the Great Qin dynasty and speculated that you came from the Mist Fiend Sea. Jai Xingzi began to move around, and a net targeting you was quickly laid out. At this time, you were secretly refining the profound tortoise armor and dragon blood, not noticing any of this. A month later, the Sun Radiance sect and Divine Moon sect were successively surrounded by the Imperial Army. All their high-ranking members were captured and taken to the Imperial City. The court used the hostages to coerce you into appearing, but you ignored them. This Tianji Pavilion can actually make the court do its bidding. It seems the relationship between them is indeed extraordinary, Lu Chengsheng thought, a little surprised. Of course, the court already had intentions to act against Lu Chengsheng due to the 1000 Zhang Azure Dragon. However, this time, the methods were undoubtedly more ruthless and extreme. Clearly, Jai Xingzi played no small part in this. Another month later, seeing no movement from you, the Great Qin dynasty publicly executed Gao Hongyang and others. As for Luo Li, because of her peerless beauty, Emperor Ganming wanted to take her as his concubine. Luo Li refused and committed suicide. Immediately after, the court also captured your friend Lu Cheng's family and continued to publicly threaten you to appear. The Great Qin court's repeated bottomless actions finally enraged you. 7 days later, at midnight, you infiltrated the imperial palace and assassinated Emperor Ganming, who was indulging in pleasure. Afterward, Jai Xingzi, Wei Taixian, and the retired Emperor Qin Junyi, who had been ambushing for a long time, appeared. The 3 used the ancestral dragon formation to suppress you within the imperial city. However, while the ancestral dragon formation was not yet fully activated, you burned most of your divine soul power and self-destructed the medium-grade Dao weapon world-destroying millstone, escaping. Jai Xingzi and Qin Junyi were injured in the explosion, Wei Taixian was annihilated, and you were also severely injured, forced to find a place to recover. Half a month later, you absorbed the only 2 remaining soul crystals you had, and your divine soul injuries improved. Afterward, you took Zhang Kaling and found Hong Quan, who was currently proselytizing. You did not appear to meet him, but instead, while healing, you secretly monitored him, waiting for his opportunity to arrive. At 27, Hong Quan was returning from visiting a friend when he encountered a sea storm in the Mist Fiend Sea. You timely intervened and sent him to a safe location. Amidst his thanks, you took Zhang Kaling, who had already advanced to Martial Saint, into the storm, and were then teleported to Bodhi Cave Heaven. 2 days later, you successfully found Zhang Zhao's legacy outside the Bodhi sect ruins. Afterward, after clearing out the Yao race in Bodhi Cave Heaven, you began to heal your injuries there with the aid of soul crystals. At 28, the divine soul power you burned 11 years ago had largely recovered, but you did not venture out rashly. Instead, you continued to stay in the cave heaven to improve your strength. At 33, your stellar soul strengthening method broke through to the 8th layer. Your speed of absorbing starlight power increased threefold again. At 38, your humanity's undying scripture broke through to the 6th layer. Your divine soul power surged tenfold. At 39, Zhang Kaling advanced to the Fa Dan realm. You taught her the stellar soul strengthening method. At 45, your divine soul power reached the limit of your current realm. You found a place far from the Bodhi sect ruins to undergo the third lightning tribulation. When you were undergoing tribulation, the red-haired monster, sealed in the Bodhi sect ruins, was awakened by the aura of the triple lightning tribulation and broke free. You fought the red-haired monster for dozens of rounds, ultimately dying under the lightning tribulation due to excessive soul power consumption. Good heavens, so you were asleep, not trapped in there. Lu Chengsheng was a little speechless. According to the last simulation's information, he had thought that as long as the formation of the Bodhi sect ruins wasn't destroyed, the red-haired monster would never get out. It turns out this guy could run out on his own. He didn't know how long the Bodhi sect's formation had existed. If it had truly existed for tens of thousands of years, even the most perfect formation would develop loopholes. However, Lu Chengsheng believed the possibility of it existing for tens of thousands of years was very small, because he didn't think the red-haired monster could have a lifespan of tens of thousands of years. A soul calamity realm physical body could at most survive for about 1,000 years. After that, the physical body would die of old age, and one could only reincarnate and cultivate again. If this red-haired monster could truly live for tens of thousands of years, that would be too terrifying. What realm would he have been in during his peak? Simulation ended. You can retain one of the following. 1. The cultivation realm at 45 years old. 2. The cultivation experience at 45 years old. I choose 1. As Lu Chengsheng made his choice, his divine soul instantly expanded. In this process, just a slight leakage of its aura made the hundreds of thousands of residents of Yangdan City feel as if a great disaster was imminent, living in constant dread. Zhang Kaling opened her eyes wide, looking at Lu Chengsheng curiously. She was, after all, from a martial saint family and knew that Lu Chengsheng was improving his strength. But wasn't the improvement of strength always a slow process, accumulated over years? Why, when it came to Brother Chengsheng, did his strength directly increase by leaps and bounds, and it wouldn't stop? After about a quarter of an hour, Lu Chengsheng's divine soul felt a sense of saturation, and the growth of his soul power finally stopped. At this time, Lu Chengsheng's soul power had increased by more than 20 times compared to before. How immense was Lu Chengsheng's divine soul power before? To increase it by more than 20 times, without the assistance of the more than 100 soul crystals left by Zhang Zhao, relying solely on his own cultivation would probably take several hundred years to even hope for. It's time to undergo tribulation again. Lu Chengsheng pulled out his only remaining 2 soul crystals. He had originally wanted to save them for backup, but now that his soul power was at perfection, there was no need to keep them unused. Just go for it. There were still over 100 soul crystals waiting for him in Bodhi Cave Heaven. However, in the next simulation, besides undergoing tribulation, it would be best to also figure out the location of Bodhi Cave Heaven. He couldn't really wait for that sea storm 10 years later. If it really was 10 years later, those 100 soul crystals would likely not even be enough for one of his simulations. Before the simulation, Lu Chengsheng saw Zhang Kaling, who had been awakened by his surging divine soul aura, looking at him curiously. So he pinched her small nose before continuing the simulation. Recharge successful. 2 gold consumed. Simulation begins. 129. 3 Tribulation Martial God. Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi. At 17, your soul power reached the limit of your current realm, so you found a secluded place and began undergoing tribulation. An hour later, you successfully passed the 3rd lightning tribulation, officially becoming a 3 Tribulation Martial God. Afterward, you settled Zhang Kaling and went alone to the Great Qin Imperial City. Half a month later, Jai Xingzi, who confirmed you were the Demon Star, arrived at the Imperial City, intending to join forces with Emperor Ganming to deal with you, but he was ambushed by you outside the city. Jai Xingzi was overjoyed to see you deliver yourself to him, but then, you severely wounded him in a few moves, leaving him utterly shocked and ashen-faced. He finally realized that you, the Demon Star, had become a force to be reckoned with, not something he could easily manipulate. At this moment, Qin Junyi and Wei Taixian from within the imperial city heard the commotion and came out to rescue him, but one died and one was injured. Wei Taixian died on the spot, while Qin Junyi, who had passed 5 lightning tribulations, narrowly escaped with the aid of his high-grade Dao weapon, the Son of Heaven Dragon Sword, but he no longer dared to leave the imperial city. You brazenly took Jai Xingzi, who you had beaten half to death, and performed a soul search on him in front of the Tianji Pavilion's mountain gate. Loyal elders and disciples, seeing their sect master humiliated, jointly charged out but were easily killed by you. The others, seeing this, were as silent as cicadas in winter, hiding in the sect's grand formation's tortoise shell, refusing to come out even if it meant death, only seeking to preserve their lives. After searching Jai Xingzi's soul, you learned that under the Tianji Pavilion's years of incitement, the great Qin dynasty had long regarded the demon star as a great enemy of the court, to the point where it had to be eliminated. Coupled with their suspicion of you due to the 1000-Zhong Azure Dragon, if they confirmed you were the demon star, the great Qin dynasty would undoubtedly use any means to deal with you. You guessed that the great Qin dynasty must be discussing methods to deal with you at this moment, so you did not linger at the Tianji Pavilion's mountain gate. After killing Jai Xingzi in broad daylight, you directly left. At 27, 10 years had passed in a flash. The great Qin dynasty had been pursuing you for 10 years, using every method but failing to find any trace of you. During these 10 years, you had already refined the profound tortoise armor and true dragon blood, and the power of your black tortoise Dharma idol and azure dragon Dharma idol had increased. On this day, by secretly following Hong Quan of the Tianxi sect, you successfully entered the Bodhi Cave Heaven through a sea storm. The first thing you did upon entering the Bodhi Cave Heaven was to search for Zhang Zhao's legacy. After finding the legacy, you began to determine the exact location of the Cave Heaven's entrance on the Tianyuan continent. You teleported yourself out of the Cave Heaven and found yourself on an unnamed, gourd-shaped island in the Mist Fiend Sea. You named it Hulu Island. And by simply breaking through the surface space at this location, you could find a teleportation gate leading to the Bodhi Cave Heaven. This small island was 12,000 li east of Binhai City, a coastal town in Laoshi County of Great Qin. After determining the location of Hulu Island, you took Zhang Kaling into the Bodhi Cave Heaven and began to cultivate diligently. At 35, your stellar soul strengthening method broke through to the 9th layer, and your efficiency in absorbing starlight increased by another 5 times. At 42, Zhang Kaling had been cultivating at the peak of the Dharma core realm for many years and was preparing to undergo tribulation to break through to the soul calamity realm. Under your careful guidance over these many years, Zhang Kaling's divine soul power had long reached 5 to 6 times that of martial artists at the same rank. In the end, she passed the lightning tribulation with a minor scare and became a 1 tribulation martial god. At 45, your humanity's undying scripture broke through to the 7th layer, and your divine soul power surged by 15 times. At 50, after absorbing most of the soul crystal left by Zhang Zhao, your divine soul power reached the limit of your current realm, so you left the Bodhi Cave Heaven, preparing to find a secluded place to undergo tribulation. However, as soon as you left the Bodhi Cave Heaven and arrived at Hulu Island in the outside world, you saw a 7 tribulation martial god, wielding a supreme Dao weapon, the Imperial Jade Seal, arriving through the air. After a great battle, you were suppressed and killed by this mysterious 7 tribulation martial god using the Imperial Jade Seal. You died. What the hell? After 20-odd years of seclusion, even a 7 tribulation martial god has appeared. Lu Chengsheng was astonished after reading it. It wasn't that 7 tribulation martial gods didn't exist, but they were extremely rare. According to Luo Song's memory, on the Tianyuan continent, martial gods above 7 tribulations were very few, only a handful. Among those openly known, there was only one. That was He Lianqi, the top ranked among the 10 barbarian gods of the barbarian race. Among the human race, only the elusive sect master of the Yuming sect, Dezong, was suspected to be a 7 tribulation martial god. As for the Yao race, there wasn't a single one openly, but it was rumored that Yao gods above 7 tribulations were in seclusion, though the truth was unknown. Anyone capable of wielding the Imperial Jade Seal must be a martial god of the Great Qin dynasty. However, Qin Junyi, the Supreme Emperor, had only passed 5 lightning tribulations. The possibility of him passing 2 more lightning tribulations in just 20 years to become a 7 tribulation martial god was not non-existent, but the probability was extremely low. Moreover, the simulator also stated it was a mysterious martial god, which meant it was definitely a martial god Lu Chengsheng had never seen, or even heard of in anyone else's memories. Did the Great Qin dynasty have an existing 7 tribulation martial god? Liu Changsheng re-examined Luo Song's memory and indeed found one person. That was Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi from 900 years ago. 900 years ago, just a few decades after the Great Qin dynasty quelled the Yellow Turban Rebellion, its national strength was greatly diminished. The demon and barbarian clans took the opportunity to coerce Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi into signing the true martial covenant with them. The general content was that human race martial gods were not allowed to actively attack martial gods of the demon and barbarian clans, otherwise, the two clans would jointly attack them. This only imposed restrictions on human race martial gods but did not restrict martial gods of the demon and barbarian clans, making it essentially a one-sided, unequal treaty. Although it was unequal, Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi endured it. Anyway, after the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the court's control over various regions was far from what it used to be, and other human race martial gods often ignored the court's orders. It was better to use this treaty to curb the arrogance of those martial gods. After this true martial covenant was signed, it indeed greatly curbed the arrogance of human race martial gods, making them constantly constrained when dealing with other races. But it also indirectly led to disunity within the human race. In the past, human race martial gods would at least contribute some effort in wars against other races. Now, as long as it wasn't their own territory, they completely ignored it, leading to the territory of the Great Qin dynasty shrinking from 152 counties 1,000 years ago to the current 108 counties. And Qinyi, who signed this covenant, abdicated a few years later amidst widespread criticism, yielding to a more capable person. Although he stepped down and was no longer an emperor, his progress in the martial Tao was rapid. In just over 200 years, he underwent tribulation and became a martial god. Since the Yellow Turban Rebellion, not many martial gods have appeared in the Great Qin dynasty. Besides Emperor Zhengdu Qin Junyi, the supreme emperor, there were only 4 others: Emperor Wushuan Qin Zhang, Emperor Yong'an Qin Xing, Emperor Shengguang Qin Wenzhen, and Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi. Emperor Wushuan Qin Zhang died in battle at Liangji Mountain, Emperor Yong'an Qin Xing died in a rebellion, and Emperor Shengguang Qin Wenzhen died during his 4th lightning tribulation. Only Emperor Gaoshan Qinyi's cause of death was unknown. Many believed he died during a lightning tribulation. Now it seems very likely that he didn't die at all, but instead passed 7 lightning tribulations in a row and lived to the present, 900 years later. 130. Who is whose tribulation? Binhai City. Simulation over, you can keep one of the following items. First, your cultivation realm at 50 years old. Second, your cultivation experience at 50 years old. Choose one. In an instant, Liu Changsheng's divine soul began to explode and vibrate. It was the shock caused by the lightning core to Liu Changsheng's divine soul. Each shock was a reshaping of Liu Changsheng's divine soul. Zhang Kailing, who was just about to fall asleep, immediately widened her eyes when she felt the terrifying aura emanating from Liu Changsheng. Big brother Changsheng has had another breakthrough. And this breakthrough was far more terrifying than the one just now. Not only was the aura more terrifying, but there were also constant rumbling sounds of thunder coming from his body, as if it were really thundering. In fact, this was Liu Changsheng's performance after restraining 99% of the breakthrough commotion. Otherwise, in just an instant, all living beings within a 10-mile radius would have died unnatural deaths. Even so, the sound of the thunderous vibrations still spread far and wide. The entire small city, with tens of thousands of people, could hear the thunder roaring. Some people even thought it was going to rain heavily and opened their windows to look, only to find the bright moon hanging high and stars filling the sky outside. Let alone heavy rain, there wasn't even a dark cloud, and they were instantly dumbfounded. The thunderous rumbling lasted for a full hour before it subsided. At this time, Liu Changsheng in the inn had also successfully completed his breakthrough. The essence of his divine soul and his divine soul power once again surged, already comparable to a 6th tribulation martial god. Although Liu Changsheng had completed his breakthrough, thunder once again rumbled outside the window. This time, it was really going to rain. Come, I'll take you to see fireworks. Liu Changsheng stroked Zhang Kailing's head, held her in his arms, and flew out of the window. Upon arriving outside, the night sky, which had originally been full of stars, was now covered in dark clouds at some unknown time, with countless electric snakes slithering within them. Amidst Zhang Kailing's exclamations, Liu Changsheng directly rushed into the thunderclouds, and countless bolts of lightning immediately struck down. At this moment, a small fish leapt out from Liu Changsheng's body and, with a flick of its tail, grew into a giant coon. The giant coon opened its mouth and inhaled, sucking all the lightning into its mouth. The giant coon even showed a human-like expression of enjoyment on its face. It was as if these were not terrifying lightning bolts, but merely delicious food. Only then did Zhang Keling finally realize that Lu Changsheng was undergoing tribulation. But whose undergoing tribulation is this easy? Several old ancestors of the Zhang family, who had reached the peak of the Dharma pill, ultimately died under the lightning tribulation. Zhang Keling's father had even personally told her that there was great terror within the lightning tribulation. But with this scene before her eyes, who exactly was the great terror? Are you undergoing tribulation, or is the lightning tribulation undergoing you? Zhang Keling was utterly stunned. Boom! The thunderous vibrations grew more intense, like the thunder god's wrath, echoing through heaven and earth. Someone is undergoing tribulation. A martial saint, passing through Yangdan city and temporarily resting, opened his eyes and slowly stood up. Listening to the rolling thunder outside, his face was filled with awe. When heavenly thunder rumbles, all spirits are subdued. Even a martial saint would not dare to fly freely during a thunderstorm. This martial saint was an elder of the astounding sword sect, named Elder Sun Ji. With his realm, he was already capable of drawing down the lightning tribulation. However, there were many peak martial saints in the world, but very few had the courage to go and undergo tribulation, facing the might of heaven and earth. After all, once a martial saint is achieved, they can enjoy human wealth and a long lifespan, but if they die under the lightning tribulation, everything is lost. Therefore, many peak martial saints only dared to take the risk when their lifespan was about to run out. I wonder if that senior undergoing tribulation can safely pass this tribulation. Elder Sun Ji could tell that this was not the first layer of lightning tribulation. But no matter which layer of lightning tribulation it was extremely dangerous. A slight mistake would lead to soul flying away and spirit scattering, otherwise, there wouldn't be so many reincarnation martial gods. Meanwhile, Lu Changsheng, deep within the thunderclouds, was still frantically devouring all the lightning he could see. He feasted like this for an unknown period of time. The giant coon finally transformed from dark yellow to golden yellow. This also signified that Lu Changsheng's primordial spirit had completely transformed from yin to yang, becoming a yang god. The essence of his divine soul was already no weaker than a sixth tribulation martial god, and his divine soul power was nearly double that of a sixth tribulation martial god. The next layer of lightning tribulation would be to condense the yang god into the divine infant Chu Xing, which could only be achieved by a seven tribulation martial god. Getting closer and closer to being invincible in the world. Lu Changsheng smiled slightly. Now, as long as a seven tribulation martial god did not appear, few people were his opponents. Perhaps only a sixth tribulation martial god wielding a peerless great Dao weapon could fight him. The location of the Bodhi Cave Heaven entrance has been confirmed, so let's go directly. With a thought, the giant coon divine soul transformed into a rock that blotted out the sky, carrying Lu Changsheng and Zhang Keling. With a flap of its wings, it vanished above Yangdan city. He wanted to strike while the iron was hot and become invincible in the world. That is, a yang god. Elder Sun Ji below was dumbfounded. This lightning tribulation scale doesn't look like a yang god's undergoing tribulation. As an elder of the astounding sword sect, he certainly had the necessary knowledge. This lightning tribulation scale looked like at most a three-layer lightning tribulation, so how could a rock formed from a pure yang god emerge from the tribulation clouds? Elder Sun Ji was utterly perplexed. Perhaps a senior was protecting a fellow disciple or a junior. But it was impossible to rush into the tribulation clouds. Because doing so would surely attract a more powerful lightning tribulation, and neither party would benefit. Lu Changsheng didn't know Elder Sun Ji's confusion, and even if he did, he wouldn't be interested in answering him. The limitations of common sense made him believe that only by passing a certain layer of lightning tribulation would one have the corresponding divine soul for that lightning tribulation. But he didn't know that there were such words as effort in this world. If you put in some effort, is it really that hard to make a divine soul from a three-layer lightning tribulation comparable to a sixth tribulation divine soul? If you can't do it, reflect more on your own reasons. Has your cultivation increased over the years? Have you cultivated diligently? With a host as diligent as Lu Changsheng, the simulator was almost crying its eyes out. Laoshi County is a borderland of Great Qin. Further west is the territory of the Yao race. It is 17,000 li away from Sishui Prefecture, but Lu Changsheng arrived here in less than a quarter of an hour. A quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. This means that Lu Changsheng's current speed has already exceeded 10,000 li per minute. If he wanted to, he could fly around the edge of the Tianyuan continent in a few days. For a martial god of his level, the Tianyuan continent was already not large. Upon arriving in Laoshi County, and then flying along the edge of the Mist Fiend Sea, Lu Changsheng quickly found Binhai City, located by the sea. As one of the few large cities along the Mist Fiend Sea coast, its prosperity surpassed that of Jinling City. Furthermore, due to the presence of many Yao race members in the city, and considering the nocturnal habits of many Yao race members, the Binhai City government specifically abolished the curfew. So even though it was almost the third watch of the night, the city was still brightly lit. However, Lu Changsheng was not here to admire the city's prosperity. He was here to find the location of Hulu Island based on Binhai City. The simulator said that Hulu Island was 120,000 li east of Binhai City, so Lu Changsheng only needed to go in the opposite direction. 131. Entering Bodhi Cave Heaven, the human race is in crisis. Lu Changsheng had originally intended to leave Zhang Kaling in Binhai City, and then pick her up after he had acquired Zhang Zhao's legacy. However, seeing so many Yao race members in the city, he dispelled that notion. Inside Bodhi Cave Heaven, as long as the red-haired monster wasn't disturbed, it was still very safe. Even if it was disturbed, with Lu Changsheng's current strength, the red-haired monster might not be able to do anything to him. Zhang Kaling was naturally intelligent and seemed to have seen through Lu Changsheng's intention to leave her behind, so she held onto his arm tightly, refusing to let go. Let's go. Lu Changsheng smiled and took her with him to Hulu Island. As for the great Pengyang god, he had already taken it into his body. It was better to act discreetly in places with many watchful eyes. After all, he was going to acquire the legacy of the 8th tribulation martial god Zhang Zhao this time, and the fewer people who knew, the better. With Lu Changsheng's vast divine thought, he could already scan an area of several thousand miles, and after traveling over 10,000 miles to the west, he quickly found a small island shaped like a gourd. This small island was located in the Storm Sea, the second layer of the Mist Fiend Sea, and the island was covered in traces of natural devastation, desolate and devoid of any living creatures. Lu Changsheng stood on the desolate island, and with his right hand, he unleashed the sharpest metal 5 elements sword chi, instantly tearing a large opening in the void realm, but inside there was only spatial turbulence. Could it be that the entrance isn't here? Lu Changsheng frowned slightly. It seemed that even upon reaching Hulu Island, finding the entrance to the cave heaven was not an easy task. It made sense. If the entrance to Bodhi Cave Heaven were truly that easy to find, it wouldn't have remained undiscovered for 10,000 years. Zhang Kaling tugged at Lu Changsheng's clothes and pointed at the sea, saying, "Brother Changsheng, there's something under the seawater, it looks like a door." Lu Changsheng was surprised. In his divine thought, there was nothing resembling a door in the sea apart from some sea fish and sea beasts. Could Zhang Kaling possess some special talent? Subsequently, Lu Changsheng took little Kaling and dove into the sea towards the direction she indicated. After diving several thousand meters, the two reached the seabed. Lu Changsheng looked at the stone mountain in front of him and asked, "Are you sure it's in here?" Zhang Kaling nodded her small head earnestly. Lu Changsheng unleashed a flash of sword chi, shattering the stone mountain. However, it was empty inside. Lu Changsheng did not show disappointment. Instead, he used the great 5 elements sword chi to utterly crush the space where the stone mountain had been. Soon, within the dark and profound spatial rift, a golden door appeared. The Bodhi sect actually built the cave heaven's teleportation gate within the spatial turbulence at the bottom of the sea. No wonder it hasn't been discovered for tens of thousands of years. Only martial gods above the 4 tribulations could shatter the void realm. Moreover, this location was so remote, it would be a miracle if anyone else could find it. If not for Zhang Kaling guiding him to the location, Lu Changsheng estimated he would have had to turn Hulu Island upside down to find this place. But in that case, the commotion would be too great, easily attracting other martial gods and increasing variables. As a precaution, Lu Changsheng first kicked a piece of broken rock inside. The broken rock touched the golden door and immediately disappeared, and at the same time, a spatial fluctuation similar to a teleportation array emanated. Only then did Lu Changsheng take Zhang Kaling and walk inside. Bodhi Cave Heaven, Human Saint Mountain. The great priestess looked at the densely packed common people kneeling at the foot of the Saint Mountain, her eyes showing a trace of unbearable sorrow. But this sorrow quickly turned into determination. The great priestess's real name was Wan Hong, and she was a descendant of the peak master of Bodhi sect's enlightenment peak from 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, after the Bodhi sect leader led the sect's elites to participate in the ancient war, he never returned. The remaining disciples of Enlightenment Peak, as the backbone of the Bodhi sect, naturally took up the banner of managing the human race within the cave heaven. 10,000 years passed, and great changes occurred. The older generation had long since died, and the younger generations, under the increasingly barren resources of the cave heaven world, found it difficult to even break through to martial God. Today, the strongest human race member, the great priestess Wan Hong, was only at the late stage of the Dharma core realm. During these 10,000 years, the Yao beasts, originally raised by the human race, had risen unexpectedly. As of today, they had even become a fatal threat to the human race. After all the human race members who volunteered for the sacrifice were in position, Wan Hong flew down the Saint Mountain and arrived at the very center of the plaza at the foot of the mountain. Here stood a black sacred halberd nearly 1,000 zhang tall. Sacred halberd. Wan Hong looked up at the majestic shaft of the black sacred halberd and murmured. 7/10 of Bodhi Cave Heaven has already been occupied by the Yao race. The Yao race's territory is growing larger and larger, their resources are increasing, and strong individuals are emerging endlessly. If this continues, in less than 50 years, the human race will only be able to become food for the Yao race. Therefore, we must seize the opportunity while the human race still has the power to resist and completely turn the tide. Wan Hong said with determination in her heart, I will sacrifice the flesh and soul of 1,000,000 human race members to Sacred Halberd Lord, hoping to use Sacred Halberd Lord's power to sweep away the high-ranking Yao race members. Wan Hong's expression was resolute. Sacrificing the souls of 1,000,000 human race members, she, as the great priestess presiding over the sacrifice, would certainly bear immense infamy, but as long as she could protect the human race, what did mere reputation matter? She might even become nourishment for the Sacred Halberd herself. Outside the human race territory, millions of Yao beasts were assaulting the human race's border. Behind the Yao beast army, more than a dozen terrifyingly large Yao creatures were gathered, these being almost all of the Yao race's martial saints. No, this is too slow. By the time the army attacks the human Saint Mountain, it'll be too late. It's a matter of life and death for our Yao race. Don't hold back. If we really wait for that human race great priestess to awaken the Sacred Halberd's power, we'll all be finished. What's the use of being anxious? Look at our Yao race's strongest, the Golden Eagle King, he's gone missing at this crucial moment. Maybe he's hoping we and the human race will fight to a mutual destruction, so he can. Before he could finish speaking, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended, preventing the Leopard King from continuing to speak. Subsequently, he discovered in horror that at some unknown point, an enormous Golden Eagle King had landed there and, with a mere open mouth and inhale, swallowed the Leopard King. Golden Eagle King, no, Golden Eagle Lord, have you broken through to martial God? The other Yao creatures looked at the Golden Eagle King's body, which had grown dozens of times larger, and said in terror. That's right, this king has already passed the lightning tribulation and become a Yao god. From now on, the Yao race shall be supreme in Bodhi Cave Heaven. And among the Yao race, my Golden Eagle race shall be the royal clan. The Golden Eagle King did not make a sound, but his terrifying divine thought fluctuations made all the great Yao present understand his meaning. Naturally, after so many years, our Yao race has finally produced a Yao god of its own. The Yao creatures all flattered him, not daring to utter a single word of dissent. Only the Black Crocodile King, who usually had the best relationship with the Golden Eagle King, cautiously reminded him, it's just that human race sacrifice matter. This king is already aware of this. This king has awakened the innate soul art, void exile, which can banish the human race's sacred halberd into the void realm turbulence. This king will make the human race understand that all efforts are futile in the face of absolute strength. The Golden Eagle King flapped his wings and flew, casting a large shadow on the ground. You all lead the elites of your respective clans and follow me to kill into the human Saint Mountain. Today, I will make the human race's blood flow like rivers and completely reduce them to vassals of my Yao race. The Black Crocodile King and the other Yao creatures rejoiced. Subsequently, tens of thousands of elite Yao race members, led by the Golden Eagle King, marched majestically towards the human Saint Mountain to kill. These were all Yao creatures above the Tao body realm. They believed that under the leadership of the Yao God Lord, they would surely slaughter the human race, creating mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and return satisfied. 132. Thunder and fire shaking heaven. Halberd, the death of the Golden Eagle King. At the foot of the sacred mountain, on the square. Feeling a massive wave of demonic chi rapidly approaching, High Priest Wan Hong's expression changed drastically. The strength of this demonic chi was unprecedented, definitely originating from a Yao god. She never expected that just as the sacrificial ritual was about to be completed, the Yao race would suddenly have a Yao god born. Quick, everyone move as fast as you can. With Wan Hong's command, one after another, martial arts powerhouses quickly got busy, and the sacrificial formation was set up at a visible speed. I wonder if sacrificing 1,000,000 human race lives and blood to sacred halberd will be enough to contend with a Yao god. May the ancestors bless us, and may everything go smoothly. Wan Hong sighed inwardly, closed her eyes, and began to quickly recite the sacrificial incantations. This was an indispensable step to activate the sacrificial formation. However, when everything was complete, the sacrificial ritual did not activate. What's going on? Everything was without fault, so why was there no reaction from the formation? Wan Hong opened her eyes, startled. Because the sacred halberd, which had stood in the center of the square for 10,000 years without moving, had disappeared. Where is the sacred halberd? High Priest Wan Hong felt as if struck by lightning. The sacred halberd was not only her belief but also the belief of the entire human race. With the sacred halberd gone, her world had collapsed. Wan Hong turned, preparing to ask the other human race powerhouses what had happened, but she only saw them all staring blankly in one direction. In that direction, at some unknown point, a young man as warm as jade had appeared, holding a little girl with one hand and toying with a black halberd in the other. And that black halberd looked exactly like the sacred halberd, shrunk countless times. The others still hadn't come back to their senses. Wan Hong had been closing her eyes and reciting the sacrificial incantations, so she hadn't seen what happened. But they had seen it clearly. This young man, with the little girl, suddenly appeared in the center of the square, and with just a wave of his hand, the sacred halberd, which reached into the clouds, immediately shrunk countless times and fell into his hand. The sacred halberd, which no one had been able to move for 10,000 years, was like a toy in his hand. Tisk tisk, it's actually a high-grade Dao weapon, and it's ownerless. Lu Chengsheng clicked his tongue in wonder. He entered the Bodhi Cave Heaven just to obtain the legacy of Zhang Zhao, but he didn't expect to have such an unexpected gain. And this unexpected gain was not small. Given the preciousness of a high-grade Dao weapon, it was clearly impossible for the simulator not to mention it. Now, he entered the Bodhi Cave Heaven 10 years earlier than his counterpart in the simulator. No one knew what would happen in these 10 years. 10 years later, when he entered, the simulator showed that the human race had already become food raised by the Yao race. But now, they clearly still had the strength to fight, which was vastly different from the scene 10 years later in the simulator. However, it could be seen that the human race 10 years later had clearly suffered a crushing defeat, otherwise, they would not have become the Yao race's food. And high-grade Dao weapons posed a huge threat to the Yao race, so it might have been thrown into some corner. What's its name? Lu Chengsheng looked at Wan Hong. Wan Hong originally wanted to question who this young man was, but Lu Chengsheng's words seemed to have a magical power, making her involuntarily answer with a long-sealed name, Thunder Fire Sky Shaking Halberd. Good name. Lu Chengsheng nodded slightly. Jia Jia Jia, the doomsday of your human race has arrived. Just then, a demonic wind appeared out of nowhere, stirring up dust everywhere. After the dust settled, a group of intimidating Yao beasts appeared in the sky. Leading them was a large eagle with resplendent golden feathers, its body hundreds of feet in size, truly a behemoth. So many delicious humans, gathered specially for us. A great Yao saw the millions of human race members in the square, ready to be sacrificed to the thunder fire sky shaking halberd, and its mouth began to water. In the eyes of the Yao race, human race flesh was undoubtedly a rare delicacy. Kill, kill, kill. Eat, eat, eat. Today, we're definitely going to eat our fill. Countless Yao race powerhouses began to clamor. With a Yao god backing them, they already regarded the human race powerhouses as fish on a chopping board. And Golden Eagle King, as a Yao god, showed a hint of mockery in his eyes and spoke in human tongue. Today is the day your human race will be annihilated. Do you human race high-ranking officials have any last words? Yes. At this moment, a young man with a somewhat unfamiliar face stepped forward and said with a smile, "May I ask if you were invited by monkeys to be clowns?" What do you mean? Golden Eagle King was stunned. Among the Yao race in the Bodhi Cave Heaven, the monkey race was just a very weak branch, without even a Faxiong realm great Yao. How could they invite them? My lord, he seems to be insulting us. A monster who called himself a human race expert jumped out. Insulting us what? Insulting us as acrobats. Bastard, I'll kill him. Blacky King was the first to get angry, opening his mouth and spitting out a green poisonous mist, which enveloped the young man. Wait, Golden Eagle King suddenly felt something was wrong. The more he looked at the black halberd in the young man's hand, the more familiar it seemed. Was that the human race's sacred halberd? Unfortunately, it was too late. The young man stepped forward, holding the halberd, and a sky full of golden divine light covered him. The brilliant light shone across the sky. The green poisonous mist silently dissolved in midair. Oh no, it's a human race martial god. The number of lightning tribulations he has overcome is far greater than mine. Run. Golden Eagle King's voice was filled with panic. He just wanted to escape. But at this moment, the wind stopped, and space seemed to be solidified. The young man swung the great halberd. Under the terrified faces of the monsters, an unparalleled halberd light, seemingly covering all things in the universe, struck down. Under the terrifying power that seemed to annihilate even the void realm, the monsters directly turned to ashes. Only some blood and flesh fragments of Golden Eagle King remained. This was intentional on Lu Chengsheng's part. After all, he hadn't tasted what Yao God meat was like yet. Just as Golden Eagle King's physical body disintegrated, a phantom resembling Golden Eagle King fled into the distance. But it hadn't escaped far when a huge jade bottle appeared behind it, sucking fiercely at its fleeing figure. No, Golden Eagle King's divine soul let out a desperate roar, but being already heavily wounded, it had no power to resist and was quickly sucked into the spirit transformation bottle and sealed. Not bad, refining it will yield another soul crystal. Lu Chengsheng put away the spirit transformation bottle, weighed it, and said with a smile. One soul crystal was not much for him. He was currently a 3 tribulation martial god, and the cost of one simulation would definitely not be less than 3 soul crystals. But even a small mosquito has meat, and a vast fortune is accumulated bit by bit. Thank you, Lord Martial God, for your intervention in saving our human race from distress. Dozens of human race high-ranking officials stood behind High Priest Wan Hong, bowing in unison to Lu Chengsheng. If it weren't for this mysterious martial god's intervention today, it would have definitely been a disaster for the human race in the cave heaven world. 133. Soul Art Void Exile, Bodhi Gate Ruins. Everyone was genuinely grateful to Lu Chengsheng. Moreover, the human race's last dominator martial god had perished 300 years ago while undergoing a lightning tribulation. Many people present were witnessing a martial god in action for the first time. The fall of a Yao god undoubtedly solidified Lu Chengsheng's invincible prestige in their hearts. Besides gratitude, many people also felt excitement and exhilaration. With such a powerful human race member, didn't it mean that the time for the human race to once again dominate the cave heaven world had arrived? Martial god, this fell from the Golden Eagle King's body. At this moment, a human race powerhouse stepped forward, respectfully handing a golden Yao core to Lu Chengsheng. After a Yao beast passes a lightning tribulation, its Yao Dan transforms into a Yao core. A Yao core is condensed from a Yao god's entire essence and chi, having limited use for a martial god, but for those below a martial god, it is an invaluable cultivation treasure. With a Yao core, a Yao beast can completely transform into a human form. However, the transformation of a Yao core is not an overnight process, it requires decades of nurturing. The Golden Eagle King's aura indicated he had only recently passed his lightning tribulation, so how could he have a Yao core? Lu Chengsheng took the Yao core, and his divine thought briefly scanned it, surprisingly discovering a rune inside the Yao core. As Lu Chengsheng's divine thought touched the rune, a large amount of information surged forth. It's actually the Golden Eagle King's awakened innate soul skill. Lu Chengsheng was slightly surprised. Innate soul skills are only awakened by some Yao gods with higher bloodline ranks, and most of them are extraordinarily effective. After all, soul skills that are too weak are difficult to pass down through bloodline legacy. And within this Yao core, a soul skill named Void Exile was recorded. It could consume a certain amount of soul power to exile people or objects into the spatial turbulence. The spatial turbulence had no origin chi whatsoever, only spatial fragments and spatial cutting power, so even a martial god couldn't stay there for too long. Learning this soul skill would be quite effective against some group attacks or peculiar items. However, if one encountered someone far stronger than themselves, its usefulness would be limited. After all, this was a soul skill, not an invincible technique. For example, when the Golden Eagle King encountered Lu Changsheng, he didn't even have a chance to use his soul skill before being instantly killed. As expected of an existence capable of breaking through to martial god in this barren land of heaven and earth origin Qi, he indeed had something special. Lu Changsheng put away the Yao core. The heaven and earth Qi of the Bodhi Cave heaven was only 1/3 that of the Tianyuan continent. Being able to break through to martial saint here was already considered a dragon among men, and breaking through to martial god was almost impossible. No wonder in previous simulations, he would take the Golden Eagle King as his mount, perhaps it was out of appreciation for his talent. However, now Lu Changsheng's strength was comparable to a sixth tribulation martial god, and the Golden Eagle King was of too little use to him, so it was better to just kill him and refine him into a soul crystal. Fortunately, the actions deviated from the simulator, which led to the unexpected gain of the soul skill. Therefore, dangers could be predicted with the simulator, but other matters could be handled flexibly. Next, Lu Changsheng did not waste much time with this group of human race higher-ups but directly inquired about the Bodhi sect ruins. The Bodhi cave heaven was at least the size of 4 or 5 prefectures of the Great Qin. If Lu Changsheng were to search inch by inch, it would take at least a day or two. So, after learning from passers-by that people were heading to the Holy Mountain, he came directly here. Even the high-grade Dao soldiers in Yao Corps, in Lu Changsheng's eyes, were not as good as a fraction of Zhang Zhao's legacy. Because the soul crystals he lacked now, only Zhang Zhao's legacy could provide in large quantities. Wan Hong, as the human race's great priestess and a descendant of the Bodhi sect's Enlightenment Peak Master, naturally knew the location of the ruins clearly. She immediately led Lu Changsheng to the ruins. The ruins were located in the northeast of the cave heaven world. That area had been occupied by the Yao race hundreds of years ago, making it difficult for human race martial artists to approach. However, with Lu Changsheng, the martial god, present, this obstacle naturally ceased to exist. Just by releasing a slight aura, the Yao race members along the way immediately fled at the mere mention of his name. Lu Changsheng's speed was incredibly fast. Even with Zhang Kaling and Wan Hong, it took only a short half-incense stick of time to reach their destination. A magnificent and vast complex of buildings, situated atop a mountain range, appeared before Lu Changsheng's eyes. Clouds and mist swirled, with numerous palaces faintly visible within. If one ignored the gloomy and eerie sky above, it truly was a scene of immortal realms. Brother Changsheng, there's something inside. Zhang Kaling looked at the Bodhi sect ruins before her, her small body shrinking back behind Lu Changsheng. Can you sense what it is? Lu Changsheng asked. Zhang Kaling shook her head and said, I don't know, but it's very evil and very powerful. Its aura is even stronger than Brother Changsheng's. Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised by Zhang Kaling's extraordinary talent. Even with his vast divine soul power, he could only faintly detect an anomaly inside, yet Zhang Kaling could even sense the righteousness or evil of the aura, and the strength of the being. This made Lu Changsheng even more curious about her talent. Wan Hong, hearing this, was startled. The Bodhi sect ruins had been abandoned for tens of thousands of years. Apart from the sect-protecting formation that remained, there were no living creatures whatsoever. How could there be a being even more powerful than the martial god powerhouse before them, who could instantly kill a Yao god? Lu Changsheng, however, understood Wan Hong's thoughts and her reaction. If he hadn't had the simulator, he would also find it hard to imagine that this uninhabited place sealed a terrifying red-haired monster. However, this seal formation could no longer trap the red-haired monster, but as long as it wasn't awakened from its slumber, it was still relatively safe. You two stay here, I'll be back shortly. Lu Changsheng instructed. Under Zhang Kaling's worried gaze, he entered the ruins. The entire ruins were enveloped in a faint layer of clear light. Even to enter the outer area, one had to break through this layer of clear light. Lu Changsheng had been able to enter the outer area when he passed the first lightning tribulation, let alone now. His divine soul was like a knife, directly cutting an opening in the clear light, and he walked in. As soon as he entered, he noticed the difference between here and the outside world. The air was filled with a vast expanse of grayish-white qi, which had a strong corrosive effect on flesh and blood. Even a martial saint could not stay in this environment for too long. Of course, it had no effect on Lu Changsheng. And the closer to the core area, the denser the grayish-white qi became. From afar, it looked like the swirling clouds and mist they had seen upon arrival. Seemingly a fairyland, yet it contained hidden dangers. But Lu Changsheng did not go to the core area, he only needed to search for Zhang Zhao's legacy in the outer area according to the information from the simulator. After circling the outer area, Lu Changsheng's divine thought discovered a skeleton inside a tall palace. Lu Changsheng went to the palace door and pushed it, but found that the door was sealed shut. Boom! Lu Changsheng directly used brute force, smashing the palace door with a punch. Entering the main hall, Lu Changsheng immediately saw a skeleton wearing a Taoist robe, sitting cross-legged in a corner. The skeleton's right index finger bone wore a brass ring, and its left hand held a piece of white cloth. 134. The mystery of the divine court. Is this comparable to the seven tribulation martial god? Lu Changsheng first took off the brass ring, and as expected, it was a storage ring. Most storage rings used by martial gods had their divine soul imprints, which were very troublesome to clear. However, the owner of this brass ring had been dead for 1,000 years. Even if Zhang Zhao was an 8th tribulation martial god, without the replenishment of divine soul power for thousands of years, the divine soul imprint on it had long dissipated under the erosion of time. Lu Changsheng's divine thought easily entered the internal space of the ring. The contents inside were exactly as displayed in the simulator. 3 complete volumes of Typing Essential Arts, 132 soul crystals, and a book recording the 2 great soul arts of summoning wind and rain and scattering beans into soldiers. The only thing the simulator didn't show was probably the several sets of spare clothes stacked in the corner. Among them, what Lu Changsheng valued most, besides the soul crystals, was undoubtedly the typing essential arts. There were a total of 3 volumes of typing essential arts, but the simulator only mentioned humanity's undying scripture, which made him very curious about what the other 2 volumes were. Taking them out, he saw they were Heavenly Tao Azure Yellow Scripture, and Earth Extremity Kunare Scripture. The former was a dragon chi law, which, if cultivated, could change the world and overthrow the empire. The latter was about formation, and if one thoroughly understood it, becoming an array grand master would be effortless. After putting the 2 volumes of typing essential arts back, Lu Changsheng then turned his gaze to the white cloth clutched in the skeletal left hand. Lu Changsheng picked up the white cloth and found several lines of words written in blood on it. Hate, 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 hate the incompleteness of heaven and earth. Hate the injustice of the divine court. Hate the limitations of human power. So many years had passed, and the fresh blood had long turned black. But the hatred revealed on it was almost palpable, causing one's mind to tremble. Lu Changsheng seemed to see that when Zhang Zhao wrote this last will, his chest was filled with monstrous hatred. These few sentences must be related to his cause of death and the failure of the Yellow Turban Army. Zhang Zhao's cause of death remained a mystery. According to the official records of the Great Qin dynasty, he contracted a strange illness and died on the march. This statement was the least credible. Zhang Zhao was a master who had undergone tribulation 8 times. Even if his physical body died, he could still cultivate the Tao of ghosts and gods. Moreover, he died in Bodhi Cave Heaven, not on the march. The second theory, which has been widely circulated among the common people, is that the Great Qin dynasty, in conjunction with the martial god powerhouses of the 3 teachings and 6 sects, launched a decapitation operation against Zhang Zhao, killing him amidst his army. This theory is the most widespread and believed by the most people. Lu Changsheng previously believed this theory the most, but now he had doubts. Nothing else, just the location of death was incorrect. The third theory, however, was rather absurd, claiming that Zhang Zhao's rebellious slogan at the time was, "The azure heaven is dead, the yellow heaven shall rise." As a result, this statement angered the azure heaven, which sent down divine punishment, striking him into ashes, leaving no bones. Combining this with the divine court, in Zhang Zhao's last will, Lu Changsheng felt that the third theory might be the closest to his cause of death. But what exactly was this divine court? Even if Lu Changsheng searched through all of Li Zizai's and Luo Song's memories, he found no information related to the words, divine court. These 2 people, one was the old ancestor of the Li clan who lived for nearly 700 years. The other was the grand elder of the 10,000 manifestations sect who lived a second life. Neither of these 2 could access any information about the divine court, which could only mean that either the divine court did not exist, or it was extremely terrifying, only accessible to powerhouses like Zhang Zhao, who had undergone tribulation 8 times. Lu Changsheng vaguely felt that he was about to touch upon the deepest secrets of this universe. His current strength was already comparable to a martial god who had undergone tribulation 6 times. After undergoing tribulation 1 or 2 more times, his strength might not be much weaker than Zhang Zhao's. If the divine court truly existed, he believed he would soon be able to access it. After finding Zhang Zhao's legacy, Lu Chengsheng did not linger in this ominous place. After burying Zhang Zhao's remains outside the main hall, Lu Chengsheng left the area. Outside, Zhang Kailing, seeing Lu Chengsheng return safely, rushed over, overjoyed and weeping. Lu Chengsheng was a little speechless. It made him seem as if he had just escaped from the gates of hell. In fact, with his current strength, even if the red-haired monster awakened, it would be difficult to harm him. By the time they returned to the human Saint Mountain, the sun was setting, and it was almost dusk. At this time, human chefs had already prepared and served delicious food. The meat was the demon god meat from the Golden Eagle King. The wine was the human race's finest Yuanlu wine. A wave of fragrant aromas assailed his nose, and Lu Chengsheng's appetite was immediately whetted. "Brother Chengsheng, I'll pour you some wine." Zhang Kailing held a golden-handled jade pot and filled a cup of amber-colored Yuanlu wine for Lu Chengsheng. "Kailing is so well behaved." Lu Chengsheng stroked Zhang Kailing's head, and the little girl immediately squinted her eyes comfortably, like a kitten. Amidst the clinking of cups, the other human high-ranking officials at the banquet were also laughing and talking, and the atmosphere became extremely lively. By the time the banquet dispersed, it was already late at night. It was late, and many people had fallen asleep, but Lu Chengsheng did not. Having just acquired a large sum of soul crystals, he had no mind for sleep, he only wanted to work hard. Recharge 10 soul crystals. Recharge successful. Current balance is 10 money. 1 simulation costs 4 money. Would you like to start the simulation immediately? How did it become 4 money? Shouldn't it be 3 money? Lu Chengsheng was greatly surprised. In terms of realm, he was now a martial god who had undergone tribulation 3 times. When he underwent tribulation once, it cost 1 money per simulation. When he underwent tribulation twice, it cost 2 money per simulation. Having undergone tribulation 3 times, he had thought it would be 3 money per simulation. He never expected that the system's calculation wasn't an addition of 1, but a doubling. It was truly an eye-opener. Lu Chengsheng had thought that these more than 100 soul crystals would last a long time. Now it seemed they would only be enough for 3 or 4 more lightning tribulations. And that was assuming he didn't die too many times. System, oh system, if you keep pushing me, be careful or I'll slaughter all the martial gods on the Tianyuan continent. Start simulation. Consumed 4 money, balance 6 money. Simulation begins. At 17 years old, your divine soul power has reached the limit of your current realm. You are preparing to undergo the 4th lightning tribulation. To avoid attracting the attention of the Great Qin dynasty, you specifically spent half a month traveling to a desolate island overseas, far from the Tianyuan continent, to undergo tribulation. Soon, the 4th lightning tribulation was drawn down by you. The 4th lightning tribulation targets the Yang God. Compared to the first 3 lightning tribulations, its power has undergone a qualitative leap, but in front of your divine soul, which is comparable to a 6th tribulation martial god, it is still slightly insufficient. 3 hours later, you successfully underwent the 4th lightning tribulation. The essence of your divine soul and your divine soul power greatly increased, and your divine soul condensed the chuxing of a divine infant. Good heavens, is this comparable to a 7 tribulation martial god? Lu Chengsheng was slightly astonished. From 7 tribulation martial god to 9 tribulation martial god, it was a process of cultivating and strengthening the divine infant. A 7 tribulation martial god condenses the rudimentary form of a divine infant. An 8 tribulation martial god's rudimentary divine infant transforms into a true divine infant. A 9 tribulation martial god, on the other hand, opens divine apertures on the divine infant, merging with the heaven and universe, becoming indestructible and reaching an unfathomable realm of strength. He had only undergone tribulation 4 times, yet he had already condensed the rudimentary form of a divine infant. What would his divine soul be like when he reached the 7th lightning tribulation? Lu Chengsheng couldn't help but worry if the later realms would be insufficient. After all, calculating 2 tribulations per each lightning tribulation, he would have to undergo 18 lightning tribulations. The 7th lightning tribulation in the outside world would actually be equivalent to his 14th. Any 9 tribulation martial god would be left far behind by him. Although he was far from invincible now, the thought of the future couldn't help but fill him with a sense of invincible loneliness. 135. Unknown in his later years, ascending to the cave heaven. 1 month later, your divine infant was completely stabilized. After that, you refined the dragon blood and profound tortoise armor before returning to the Tianyuan continent. 7 days later, you arrived at Hulu Island in the Mist Fiend Sea and entered the Bodhi Cave Heaven. However, as soon as you returned to the Bodhi Cave Heaven, the aura of your divine infant startled the red-haired monster beneath the Bodhi sect ruins. It sensed a strong threat and awakened prematurely from its slumber. Subsequently, you and the red-haired monster engaged in a heaven-shaking battle. During this battle, 1/10 of the Cave Heaven world's territory was destroyed by the aftermath of the battle, and over half of the territory was polluted by the devilish chi from the red-haired monster, with mutated fiends appearing everywhere. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, you managed to slay the red-haired monster, though you were severely wounded. However, before its death, the red-haired monster cast a curse on you, and a red light entered your body. You were greatly alarmed, but after careful inspection, you found no abnormalities. Subsequently, you began to clear out the fiends formed by the red-haired monster's pollution. You planned to transform the Bodhi Cave Heaven into your private cave heaven. Half a year later, the fiends were cleared out by you, and the Yao race creatures above the Tao body realm were also dealt with. The human race, which had suffered heavy losses in the previous war, began to multiply, while you entered seclusion. At 20 years old, you refined over 100 soul crystal, and your divine soul power increased by about 2-fold. The nascent divine infant grew by 2 inches, from 1 inch to 3 inches. You knew that your current divine soul power was already close to an 8th tribulation martial god, and over 100 soul crystal were just a drop in the bucket for you. To quickly improve your strength from now on, you would have to seize resources from major powers or hunt other martial gods. Thus, you ended your seclusion. With your current strength, there were few in the world who could contend with you, and you did not intend to remain in bitter seclusion indefinitely. However, as soon as you emerged from seclusion, you were surprised to find that your physical body had grown into the appearance of a middle-aged man. You were utterly perplexed. You widely invited human race divine physicians to ascertain the root cause. Soon, a divine physician named Biantuo told you that your lifespan was depleting 100 times faster than a normal person's. You were greatly shocked, guessing that this must be the curse left by the red-haired monster. Subsequently, you left the Bodhi Cave Heaven and headed to Great Chin to find a solution. At 25 years old, over 5 years, you traveled to the 3 teachings and 6 sects, visited various masters skilled in curses, and even captured a large group of divine physicians, but everyone was helpless against the curse on your body. By this time, you were already white-haired and looked like an old man on the verge of death. At 26 years old, as your body grew increasingly frail, your temper became more erratic. At 27 years old, red hair began to grow on your body, and your personality became increasingly irritable. Simply because you heard someone in the imperial court call you a monster, you massacred Shenyang Palace, destroying the imperial city, causing widespread panic throughout the world. At 28 years old, you were old and decrepit, full of senility. More and more red hair grew on your body, and your periods of lucidity became shorter and shorter. Soon, a mysterious 7 tribulation martial god, wielding the imperial jade seal, broke through the void realm and attacked you. 2 days and 2 nights later, the mysterious martial god was devoured alive by you. After the battle, you completely lost your sanity, killing anyone you met and slaughtering any city you saw. Your actions enraged the righteous path forces. They besieged you multiple times but returned without success. Ultimately, the martial gods of the righteous path forces lured you into the Yuming sect's lair. You were slain on the spot by the Yuming sect leader, Dezong. You died. Is this the legendary ominous old age, covered in red hair? But I'm not a heavenly master, nor am I called Muxi, for crying out loud. Lu Chengsheng couldn't help but complain, feeling deeply troubled at the same time. It seems that the red-haired monster cannot be dealt with for now. Although it couldn't defeat you, it could disgust you to death with its curse. And there's this Yuming sect leader, Dezong. Even a 7 tribulation martial god wielding a supreme Tao weapon couldn't defeat him, yet he was able to slay him. So, what realm is he in? 8 tribulation or 9 tribulation? It seems there are still experts in this world, but their numbers are even fewer than Lu Chengsheng imagined. After the simulation ended, Lu Chengsheng did not immediately make a choice. Currently, he was still in the cave heaven world. Whether it was the aura of the divine infant or undergoing tribulation, both would alarm the red-haired monster. Therefore, that night, he took Zhang Kaling to Wan Hong's residence and told her that he would be leaving the cave heaven world for a period of time and asked her to take care of Zhang Kaling during that time. He did not intend to keep Zhang Kaling by his side indefinitely. The high-ranking Yao race members in the Bodhi cave heaven were almost completely wiped out during the day. As long as the red-haired monster wasn't awakened, it was very safe and suitable for secluded cultivation. Furthermore, what Lu Changsheng was about to do was not suitable for children, so it was best not to have her by his side, lest it cause great trauma to her young mind. After settling Zhang Kaling, Lu Changsheng left the Bodhi cave heaven. Since he couldn't find an exit teleportation gate, the method of departure was rather violent. That was to directly shatter the void realm, and the entire person would be expelled from the small world, arriving at the Tianyuan continent. For the people of the small cave heaven, this was ascension to the upper realm. In fact, the Bodhi cave heaven originally existed by relying on the world where the Tianyuan continent was located. Shattering the void realm in the Tianyuan continent might not lead to the Bodhi cave heaven, but shattering the void realm in the Bodhi cave heaven would definitely lead to the Tianyuan continent. Regarding the relationship between cave heaven and the great world, there was a lot of relevant information in the memories of Li Zizai and Luo Song. In ancient times, there were many similar cave heaven. However, not many have survived to this day. Currently, the only known ones are the Great Evolution Cave Heaven of the Tianji Pavilion, the Mysterious Maiden Cave Heaven of the Mysterious Maiden Sect, the Wen Sheng Cave Heaven of the Dongshan Kong Clan, the Sky Demon Cave Heaven of the Yao race, and the Baron Cave Heaven of the Barbarian race. Previously, the Great Qin dynasty also had its own ancestral Dragon Cave Heaven, but it was later destroyed in the internal strife of the imperial family's 9 princes vying for the throne. When Lu Changsheng was expelled by the Bodhi Cave Heaven's world power to the outside world, he found that his location was near Hulu Island, only about 200 li away from Hulu Island. Luo Song's memory didn't say that the expelled location was random and could be anywhere on the Tianyuan continent, did it? Why is it still here? Lu Changsheng was a little surprised. This might be related to the teleportation gate beneath Hulu Island. And precisely because it wasn't a random teleportation, his simulated self could easily find the location of the teleportation gate. Perhaps this was the predetermined outcome of cause and effect. After arriving in the outside world, Lu Changsheng flew directly towards the continent. There were too many strange things in the Mist Fiend Sea. Even if he were incredibly bold, he couldn't possibly undergo tribulation there. If a group of monsters came at him during undergoing tribulation, he would be in big trouble. Lu Changsheng landed on the continent, came to Laoshi County, which bordered the Yao race, found a secluded place, and then chose option 1. 136. Crossing the 4th Thunder Tribulation, the 6th Tribulation Demon God. As he made his choice, his divine soul immediately expanded like a balloon. When it expanded to a certain limit, it began to compress rapidly, just like when it condensed into a pill from liquid in the Faxiong realm. Only this time, what was compressed was the power of the divine soul. The enormous power of the divine soul quickly compressed into a 3-inch tall infant shape, exuding a trace of immortal and indestructible aura. However, the infant's facial features were blurry, like an embryo that had just taken human form in amniotic fluid, hence the term, Divine Infant Chu Xing, Divine Infant Prototype. The maximum size of a Divine Infant Prototype can reach 9 inches. Lu Changsheng's current Divine Infant Prototype is only 3 inches, still 6 inches short. Don't think that these 3 inches are ordinary. Many martial gods who have just undergone tribulation 7 times don't even have a 1-inch Divine Infant. Only a 6th tribulation martial god whose divine soul power is much larger than others of the same rank will have their divine infant prototype reach 1 inch after undergoing tribulation, the 7th lightning tribulation. And when Lu Changsheng underwent tribulation, the 4th lightning tribulation, his divine infant prototype had already reached 1 inch, and after absorbing more than 100 soul crystals left by Zhang Zhao, it reached its current 3 inches. For most 7 tribulation martial gods, a 3-inch divine infant prototype is completely sufficient to attempt to undergo tribulation, the 8th lightning tribulation. If one wants to reach a 9-inch divine infant prototype, 100 years is too short. And if one absorbs soul crystals, it would require at least 4 or 500. Even for top forces like the 3 teachings and 6 sects, being able to produce a few soul crystals at once is considered good, being able to produce more than 10 is quite impressive. Like the 8th tribulation martial god Zhang Zhao, who caused a monstrous killing tribulation 1,000 years ago, he only left behind over 100 soul crystals in the end. Therefore, a 9-inch divine infant prototype, for a 7 tribulation martial god, basically only exists in theory. But Liu Changsheng has the simulator, and has only undergone tribulation 4 lightning tribulations, so a 9-inch divine infant prototype is not difficult for him. As soon as the 3-inch divine infant prototype formed, countless dark clouds began to gather above Liu Changsheng's head. Birds and beasts within a 100-mile radius began to flee desperately into the distance, as if a great terror had descended. The sky, which had originally begun to lighten in the east, darkened again, as if time had suddenly jumped from dawn to dusk. The world was in darkness, making it impossible to see. Rumble. Suddenly, in the overcast sky, a huge snake-shaped lightning flashed, like a sharp sword of a deity, tearing open the dark sky. As expected of a lightning tribulation that causes the yin divine soul to begin transforming into a yang divine soul, its power has undergone a qualitative leap compared to the previous 3 lightning tribulations. Liu Changsheng's eyes gleamed, completely without any fear. This lightning tribulation, which others feared like tigers, was a great opportunity and a great fortune for him. He wished it would come more often. In Liu Changsheng's sea of consciousness, a 3-inch infant whose facial features were not yet fully formed stretched lazily. With a slight leap, it arrived in the thunderclouds high in the sky. With Liu Changsheng's current divine soul power, comparable to a 7 tribulation martial god, he could vaguely sense that there were several other circles in the deeper space of the thunderclouds. From the edge to the center, according to the strength of the lightning's will, there were 9 layers of circles in total. The lightning tribulation currently descending was from the 4th circle, moving from outside to inside. Among the 9 circles, only the 2 innermost circles posed a strong threat to him. Those were the 8th lightning tribulation and the 9th lightning tribulation. Especially the 9th lightning tribulation, which gave Liu Changsheng a strong sense of death. With his current divine soul, it was almost certain death upon contact. The 9th lightning tribulation, it's still unknown whether there is a 9 tribulation martial god on the Tianyuan continent right now. Liu Changsheng's divine infant shook its head. As the most difficult of the 9 lightning tribulations, countless prodigies and heroes have been buried within it throughout history. Even if Jehu, whose strength surpassed his own, Liu Changsheng guessed that he was most likely only an 8 tribulation martial god. Otherwise, the Yuming sect would have already ruled the world. Oh, and there's also the mysterious and unknown divine court. It's equally unknown what kind of masters are stationed inside. Don't aim too high, let's eat first. Liu Changsheng's divine infant opened its mouth and inhaled, and all the nearby lightning was swallowed like 100 rivers returning to the sea, being completely absorbed by him. For a moment, the thunderclouds within dozens of miles were completely cleared. Liu Changsheng's divine infant patted its belly, let out a burp, and shook its head, saying, "Not enough, not enough." Then he directly entered the deepest part of the 4th lightning tribulation and began his sweeping journey. Just as Liu Changsheng was feasting, the sight of birds and beasts constantly fleeing from the 100-mile radius around Liu Changsheng's undergoing tribulation was quickly noticed by those with discerning eyes. In a courtyard on mysterious Maiden Peak, 8,000 li away. More than a dozen beautiful female disciples were practicing martial arts in the spacious courtyard. They were all using the mysterious maiden sword scripture, the most widely circulated martial art of the mysterious maiden sect, with sharp killing intent. And in front of these dozen or so women, there was a dignified beautiful woman, guiding them in their martial arts. The beautiful woman's eyes were sharp, every word pointing out the flaws in their sword techniques, without a single mistake. At this moment, a female disciple with a strong aura came to the beautiful woman's side and whispered a few words to her. The beautiful woman's expression changed upon hearing them and she pressed, "Is the news true?" The female disciple respectfully replied, "Absolutely true. Yuzhu and the others did see someone undergoing tribulation in the Luoyan Mountains area, and it seems to be one of our human race." The beautiful woman murmured, "The western section of the Luoyan Mountains is the territory of the 6th tribulation Yao God Divine Tiger King. Who would be so bold as to choose to undergo tribulation there? The Luoyan Mountains stretch for tens of thousands of li. 2/3 are within the Yao race territory, and only 1/3 is in human race territory. There are only 2 Yao gods among the Yao race who have undergone tribulation 6 times. The Divine Tiger King is one of them. Relying on his outstanding strength, his usual conduct is extraordinarily arrogant and overbearing. The 1/3 of the Luoyuan Mountains within human race territory has long been tacitly acknowledged as the Divine Tiger King's domain, and few people go there on normal days. But Lu Chengsheng didn't know that. He just chose that place to undergo tribulation because it was sparsely populated, not knowing there were so many complications. No, I must go and see. If it's truly a human race martial god undergoing tribulation, I cannot stand by and do nothing. The beautiful woman's name is Ruan Yun, and as the sect master of the mysterious maiden sect, she has already undergone tribulation 5 times and is not weak. Furthermore, Mysterious Maiden Peak is not far from the Luoyuan Mountains, and she has dealt with the Divine Tiger King many times. She knew deeply that with the Divine Tiger King's temper, if he knew there was a human race martial god in the Luoyuan Mountains, he would certainly act to extract his divine soul and refine his spirit. The other end of the Luoyuan Mountains. Tiger God Mountain. A great Yao with a tiger head and human body, nicknamed Black Whirlwind, ran into a huge stone palace, shouting as he ran, "Great King, great news, great news." Inside the huge stone palace, there was a giant tiger as big as a small mountain, with a terrifying aura, dozing off. Hearing Black Whirlwind's report, it slowly opened its large, bell-like eyes and rumbled, "What great news!" 137. Humans and demons are fighting, you are the ones who should escape. Black Whirlwind quickly said, "Your Majesty, didn't we raise many small Yao race members on the eastern side of the Luoyuan Mountains to gather intelligence on the human race? Guess what happened today? Stop beating around the bush. Spit it out if you have something to say." Divine Tiger King said, displeased. If this guy wasn't his trusted subordinate, he would have slapped him into a meat patty. Black Whirlwind chuckled and said, "Those little Yao race members actually discovered today that a human race martial god is undergoing tribulation on the eastern side of the Luoyuan Mountains, and judging by the power of the lightning tribulation, it seems to be a 4th-level lightning tribulation. Isn't this a fat piece of meat delivered right to your Majesty's mouth?" Human race martial god. Divine Tiger King extended his giant tongue, covered in barbs, and licked his tiger paw. He couldn't remember how many years it had been since he last ate the flesh of a human race martial god. 200 years, or 300 years. That wonderful taste still made him recall it endlessly. As for whether it was a trap, he felt the possibility was very small. Firstly, there was the True Martial Covenant. Since the True Martial Covenant was signed, no human race martial god dared to openly attack a Yao god or a barbarian god, otherwise the demon and barbarian clans would jointly attack him. Secondly, it was his confidence in his own strength. He was one of the strongest among the Yao gods. For the human race not to target those weaker Yao gods, but to target him instead, wasn't that seeking death? Tell the little ones to prepare their gear, we're having human bone soup tonight. Divine Tiger King stood up, exuding the unique aura of the King of Beasts, incomparably fierce. The flesh and blood of a human race martial god were too rare, he couldn't just swallow it whole. Instead, he would eat the meat and then stew the bones for soup. "Yes, Your Majesty. Your humble servants await Your Majesty's triumphant return." Black Whirlwind immediately bowed down. If a human race martial god was truly stewed into soup, with his status on Tiger God Mountain, he would definitely get a taste. By the time Divine Tiger King and Ruan Yun received the news and arrived at the place where Lu Chengsheng was undergoing tribulation, the lightning tribulation was already nearing its end. How did it end so quickly? Did that person fail to undergo tribulation? Divine Tiger King was a bit surprised. According to the news from his subordinates, the person's tribulation had lasted less than half an hour, right? Washing away the yin qi from the divine soul was extremely troublesome, so it was normal for the 4th lightning tribulation to last 4 or 5 hours. Only those martial gods with deep foundation would reduce some of the tribulation time. A lightning tribulation lasting less than half an hour was unheard of. There was only one possibility: failure to undergo tribulation. Did he fail? Ruan Yun, the sect master of Mysterious Maiden Sect, who had rushed over, sighed. She had intended to offer some help for the sake of the human race, but she didn't expect that before she could act, this person had already perished under the lightning tribulation. However, this was not entirely unexpected. After all, lightning tribulations were inherently perilous, and even Ruan Yun herself was unsure if she could survive her next lightning tribulation. She was just a little regretful. Just then, a faint divine soul fluctuation suddenly emanated from the nearly dissipated thunderclouds. This divine soul fluctuation grew stronger and stronger, carrying a sense of rebirth from the ashes. He actually survived. It seems he succeeded by luck. Although this lightning tribulation only lasted half an hour, it is indeed a bit strange, but it won't be a wasted trip for this king. Divine Tiger King was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed, and revealed his true form. With a roar of a tiger, a cold wind suddenly arose, shaking the wilderness. A colossal, ferocious tiger, like a towering divine mountain, appeared in its original spot. Its eyes were filled with blood-red light, and an invisible evil chi emanated from it, causing trepidation. Not good, Divine Tiger King is about to attack. Ruan Yun was startled, although she didn't understand how this human race martial god had survived. Since he wasn't dead, it was her turn to act. Ruan Yun drew the medium-grade Dao weapon, the mysterious maiden sword, from behind her and struck forcefully. Instantly, a sky full of sword chi surrounded the ferocious tiger. It's you again. This king will destroy your mysterious maiden lineage sooner or later. Divine Tiger King roared furiously. The eastern side of the Luoyan Mountains was less than 10,000 li from Mysterious Maiden Peak. The Tiger God lineage and Mysterious Maiden sect were old rivals who had been fighting for hundreds of years. Divine Tiger King pounced out with a furious roar, and with a swat of his tiger paw, countless sword chi shattered. How can I allow others to snore beside my bed? From the day your Tiger God lineage moved to the Luoyan Mountains, our two families were destined to be irreconcilable. Ruan Yun sneered, her movements not stopping in the slightest. Chilling sword chi continuously surged from the mysterious maiden sword, its sharpness enough to cut through space, cutting down everything. Roar! Divine Tiger King let out a furious roar, his tiger eyes tyrannical and vicious. He roared to the sky, and black smoke surged wildly from his body, sweeping across the sky. From the rolling black clouds, countless malevolent spirits with ferocious expressions emerged, blocking one sword chi after another. Serving as a tiger's accomplice. These malevolent spirits were all formed from the living beings Divine Tiger King had slaughtered during his growth. Among them were Yao race members, and also human race members, but the vast majority were human race members. 1,000 years ago, Great Qin still had 152 prefectures. Later, whenever the national power declined, the imperial court would readily cede land and pay tribute to the demon and barbarian clans. After so many years, only 108 prefectures remained. As for the fate of the people in the ceded prefectures and counties, it goes without saying. They either resisted or became captive food and slaves. 2,000 years later, Great Qin had long since degenerated, no longer the Great Qin that had conquered the four seas. The current imperial court only wanted to guard its small patch of land, living as happily as possible day by day. It's unknown if the first emperor, upon seeing this scene, would flip open his coffin lid and slap these unfilial descendants to death. Powerful sword chi and terrifying black clouds intertwined in the void realm, transforming it into a sheer battlefield. Although the mysterious maiden sword scripture that Ruan Yun cultivated had astonishing offensive power, over time, the disadvantage in realm inevitably became apparent. Her face turned pale, and she continuously retreated. Enough time has passed. That person should have gone far away, right? Ruan Yun already had the intention to retreat, but when her divine thought swept through the clouds, she almost vomited blood from anger. She saw that the human race martial god's divine soul was still lingering in the clouds. Not only did he not leave, but he even moved closer, as if watching a good show. Good, good, good. I'm working so hard to block the Yao god for you, and you don't know disaster is imminent, but you're still watching the show here, are you? Ruan Yun was so angry that she wanted to stand by and do nothing, but then she thought that perhaps this person didn't know that the Yao god was coming for him, so she shouted, Divine Tiger King is coming for you, hurry and escape. However, the expected scene of panicked escape did not occur. Instead, a lazy voice came, escape. Why should I escape? Shouldn't it be you who escape? As soon as these words came out, both the human and the demon were stunned. Ha 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 ha, this king just loves your arrogance. Divine Tiger King burst into laughter, but his words stopped abruptly halfway through, as if his throat had been seized by something. Above, the clouds twisted and coiled, and an unparalleled, powerful aura shot up into the sky. In the sky, an overwhelmingly young, firm, and vast divine soul power suddenly erupted. The divine soul power surged mightily, raging across the 10,000 jong high sky. The black smoke covering Divine Tiger King's body, spanning dozens of li, met this powerful divine soul power and immediately emitted countless ghostly wails, slowly dissipating into the void realm. That person hadn't even officially made a move, merely releasing his divine soul aura, yet Divine Tiger King had already lost a major trump card. Subsequently, a divine infant about 4 inches tall leapt out from the clouds. The moment it leapt out, it grew with the wind. By the time it reached Divine Tiger King and Ruan Yun, it had already grown into a towering giant. However, the giant's facial features were very blurry, like a faceless divine being. 138. Blast the Tiger King with one punch. Ruan Yun's choice. Divine Infant Chu Xing, 7 Tribulation Martial God. At the moment Lu Changsheng's divine infant emerged, Divine Tiger King's heart pounded, hardly daring to believe his eyes. A 7 Tribulation Martial God is undergoing tribulation, the 4th lightning tribulation here. Are you kidding me? And his divine soul power just now was clearly so weak. Instantly, many thoughts raced through Divine Tiger King's mind, and he quickly realized that this was a trap. Run! Divine Tiger King didn't have time to think more, making a decision in a flash. Boom! The void realm vibrated slightly, and its massive tiger body had already appeared dozens of miles away. Laugh! Why aren't you laughing anymore? I just love to hear your hearty laughter. Faceless Giant's mouth emitted a playful sound, forming a fist seal with his right hand and pressing it slightly downwards. Bang! An earth-shattering roar overshadowed all other sounds between heaven and earth. The tiger body, several hundred jong in size, suddenly exploded, flesh and blood flying everywhere. Even the incredibly hard tiger bones, under this punch, only lasted 2 or 3 breaths before shattering into bone powder, scattering down towards the ground. After Divine Tiger King's physical body disintegrated, dozens of thoughts, as large as heads and shimmering with crystalline light, flew in the air. Dozens of thoughts, each flying in a different direction. Just then, Lu Changsheng's divine infant suddenly erupted with a purplish blue light. Within this light, there was the unique yin and yang power of creation and destruction belonging to the divine infant, far surpassing that of the yin god and yang god. Dozens of thoughts, as large as human heads, were scorched as if by fire when illuminated by this purplish blue light, and countless wisps of green smoke emerged. Ah! Divine Tiger King's divine soul thoughts continuously let out miserable screams. Who exactly are you? One thought, noticeably larger than the other divine soul thoughts, vibrated the void realm and spoke. He didn't want to die as a confused ghost. What do I care who you are? Lu Changsheng didn't want to waste too much time talking to the soul crystal. Seeing that these divine soul thoughts no longer had any power to resist, he commanded the spirit transformation bottle to collect them all. Ruan Yun stared blankly at everything before her. Her old adversary of several hundred years suddenly turned to ashes, even his divine soul suppressed by someone, which made her feel somewhat unreal. Originally, she had intended to help, but this was not a 4 Tribulation Martial God undergoing tribulation at all, but a trap disguised by a 7 Tribulation Martial God. She just thought, how could anyone complete a lightning tribulation in half an hour, and choose to undergo tribulation in the Luoyan Mountains? If a 7 Tribulation Martial God was behind this, then everything made sense. Many thanks, Senior, for slaying Divine Tiger King. Ruan Yun bowed deeply to Faceless Giant. This was not only to thank Faceless Divine Being for eliminating the huge threat of Divine Tiger King for mysterious maiden sect, but also to express gratitude on behalf of countless human race commoners who died at the hands of the Tiger God lineage. The Tiger God lineage occupied several counties of human race territory, causing Laoshi County, which was originally not a border area, to be forced into becoming one. Mysterious maiden sect, being in Laoshi County, also had to directly face the pressure from the Yao race. Faceless Giant merely looked down at her, not responding. It's normal for a senior to be a bit aloof. Ruan Yun thought so. Just at this moment, a young man walked towards them, and Faceless Giant quickly shrunk, transforming from a towering giant into a 4-inch divine infant, entering the young man's sea of consciousness. And the white jade bottle that had collected Divine Tiger King's divine soul thoughts also fell into the young man's hand. You are, Lu Changsheng. Ruan Yun was greatly astonished. If this person hadn't been identical to the figure in the recording stone, she would have doubted if she had misjudged. Didn't they say Lu Changsheng had just passed his 2nd lightning tribulation? Although his strength was astonishing, even Xu Zongwu, who had passed 5 lightning tribulations, couldn't do anything to him, but with your divine infant Chu Xing already formed, it's impossible that you've only passed 2 lightning tribulations. What, I don't look like Lu Changsheng? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow. No, it's just that I find it a bit hard to believe. Yesterday, it was widely rumored that Senior Lu had just passed 2 lightning tribulations, but now it seems that was a rumor. Ruan Yun, fearing that Lu Changsheng might misunderstand, quickly explained. It's not a rumor. Yesterday, I indeed just passed my 2nd lightning tribulation, Lu Changsheng said casually. Ah, Ruan Yun felt her whole being go numb. Could it be that the 4 lightning tribulations just now were truly yours? In just one day, you've passed 2 lightning tribulations consecutively. And what's with that divine infant? Ruan Yun felt her worldview was about to collapse. It's a pity you didn't have designs on me just now. Lu Changsheng weighed the spirit transformation bottle, his tone somewhat regretful. The lightning tribulation just now had been absorbed by him for half an hour, then suddenly died down on its own. This made him quite frustrated. One must know, in the simulation, he had undergone tribulation, the 4th lightning tribulation, for 3 hours. Could it be that after forming the divine infant, the heavenly lightning got cold feet? Later, just as he was about to leave, he suddenly sensed 2 martial gods rushing towards him from afar. One human race, one Yao race. They say the smartest hunter often appears as prey. So he disguised himself as weak prey. As a result, as soon as the 2 hunters arrived, they started fighting each other first. After realizing that one of them was there to help, he was speechless. Who needs your help? Come hunt me. However, since Ruan Yun was sincerely there to help, he had no intention of attacking her. Lu Changsheng's self-positioning was that he was neither a good person nor a bad person, but someone who clearly distinguishes between favors and grudges. Upon hearing this, a chill ran down Ruan Yun's spine. If her intentions today had been impure, she would probably have met the same end as Divine Tiger King. Ruan Yun chuckled dryly. Senior is joking. As fellow human race, we should naturally help each other. How could Junior have designs on Senior? If everyone had the same awareness as Sect Master Ruan, why would the human race worry about not prospering? Lu Changsheng put away the spirit transformation bottle and smiled slightly. Then, his expression turned serious. I just heard that demon tiger say that your mysterious maiden sect is its mortal enemy. You must be very clear about the location of its lair. Could you lead the way for me? If Lu Changsheng refined Divine Tiger King's divine soul thoughts, he could also know the location of its lair. However, a 6th tribulation martial god's divine soul is not that easy to refine. Even with the help of the spirit transformation bottle, it would take 2 or 3 days. By then, Divine Tiger King's subordinates or descendants might have already emptied Divine Tiger King's private stash. Now that there's a ready-made human navigation, why not use it? Senior's killing of Divine Tiger King just now already violated the true martial covenant. If you further plunder his lair, it might invite interference from the demon and barbarian clans. Ruan Yun did not immediately agree, instead showing a worried expression. A 7 tribulation martial god is indeed very strong, but not invincible. The barbarian race has a 7 tribulation martial god who has lived for over 1,000 years. And although the Yao race currently has no 7 tribulation martial gods openly, no one knows if there are hidden old monsters. If one acts too recklessly, attracting strong practitioners from the demon and barbarian clans, it might be difficult to resolve the situation then. True martial covenant. I didn't sign it. Just tell me directly, do you dare to go or not? Lu Changsheng shook his head as soon as he heard about the true martial covenant. The true martial covenant was like a restrictive spell placed on the human race, otherwise, how could they have lost 44 counties later? Since Senior insists on going, this little one is willing to accompany you, even if it costs my life. Ruan Yun gritted her teeth and agreed. As the sect master of Mysterious Maiden Sect, she should not have been so reckless, but she also dared not offend Lu Changsheng. The true martial covenant was far away, but Lu Changsheng was right in front of her. 139. Destroy the lineage of the tiger god, and take the abnormality of the star. Led by Ruan Yun, Lu Changsheng quickly arrived at Tiger God Mountain, located at the westernmost end of the Luoyan Mountains. The mountain was covered in tiger demons. Lu Changsheng's divine thought swept across, roughly estimating their numbers to be between 400 and 50,000. Among them, there were over 100 Faxiong realm tiger demons. There were also many human race members kept as livestock by the tiger demons, with powerful demons occasionally slaughtering a few to serve as snacks with their drinks. Survival of the fittest. This saying couldn't be more apt for the Tianyuan continent. Lu Changsheng shook his head slightly. That's right. The human race's internal strife is too severe, and the great Qin dynasty only wants to protect itself, otherwise, how could it have come to this? Ruan Yun was startled by his words and offered her own opinion, though her tone carried a hint of sadness. Unlike her, Lu Changsheng was merely expressing a thought and wasn't feeling sad. Humans strong, eat tigers. Tigers strong, eat humans. This is the natural order of heaven and earth, there's nothing to be sad about. Therefore, since Lu Changsheng is now stronger than the divine Tiger King, it is only right that its descendants face their own demise. Lu Changsheng's body remained still. With a simple sweep of his divine thought, the weather instantly changed. Boom! All the tiger demons on Tiger God Mountain were crushed by an immense and unparalleled divine soul thought. It was as if everything in heaven and earth ceased to exist, with only that vast thought remaining. Rumble! As the vast divine thought pressed down, countless tiger demons' bodies were instantly crushed to pieces. Regardless of whether they were ordinary tiger demons or powerful demons capable of transforming into human form, their tiger bodies were all pulverized. Who is it? When did my tiger god lineage offend such a terrifying existence? Where is the great king? Where is the great king? Why doesn't he save our bloodline? Countless tiger demons roared, their physical bodies exploding in midair, blood and flesh scattering everywhere. The entire Tiger God Mountain was enveloped in a faint blood-red mist, and the smell of blood was exceptionally pungent. The great king can't be reached. Black Whirlwind, who had previously reported the great news to the divine Tiger King, now clutched a communication stone, cowering in a corner of the Tiger God Hall, his tiger body trembling. Even the king of beasts would panic when facing death. However, not long after, hiding in the Tiger God Hall, he discovered in horror that his body, like those of the other tiger demons, was cracking inch by inch. The great king will surely avenge me. Before he could finish, his tiger head exploded with a bang, splattering red and white everywhere. You exterminated the tiger god lineage. Upon seeing this, Ruan Yun's expression suddenly changed. Killing the divine Tiger King earlier could be justified by saying he trespassed into human race territory with malicious intent and deserved death. But to come to Yao race territory and exterminate the tiger god lineage, that's a completely different matter. It could be said to be intentionally slapping the Yao race's face. This was a declaration of unending conflict with the Yao race. Ruan Yun felt immense regret in her heart. She had thought Lu Changsheng was taking advantage of the divine Tiger King's death to plunder wealth from Tiger God Mountain, never expecting him to be here to exterminate a clan. If the Yao race found out she was an accomplice, the mysterious maiden sect would surely suffer fierce retaliation from the Yao race. If the Yao race's allies, the barbarians, also joined in, the consequences would be even more unpredictable. What, is there a problem? Lu Changsheng asked in return, dismissively. His tone was as if he had just wiped out a nest of ants. Seeing this, Ruan Yun had no choice but to swallow all the words she wanted to say. She could tell that this lord truly didn't care. Lu Changsheng looked at Tiger God Mountain below, which resembled a living hell, and said to Ruan Yun, "This Tiger God Mountain actually has quite a few resources, but I don't need them, so I'll sell them cheaply to your mysterious maiden sect." Ruan Yun was speechless. So, not only was she the guide, but she was also the one to clean up the battlefield. A majestic 5 tribulation martial god had been reduced to a mere laborer. In the end, she still flew down. Firstly, as the divine Tiger King's lair, Tiger God Mountain indeed contained many good things. Secondly, Lu Changsheng's unpredictable temperament made her feel uneasy. She couldn't tell if Lu Changsheng was a righteous path individual or an evil one, and she didn't want to offend him. Ruan Yun went down to work as a laborer to clean up the mess, while Lu Changsheng opened the simulator. Although he acted nonchalant, he was still vigilant about the upcoming developments. There's an old saying that goes, "Caution is the parent of safety." Looking at the Tianyuan continent, there were already few people qualified to be Lu Changsheng's opponents. However, there were still many things that could threaten his life, including but not limited to peerless grade Dao weapons, top-tier formations, and human wave tactics. He was also curious about the Yao race's upcoming reaction. He still had the White Fox King Yuanzi to kill, after all. If the Yao race's reaction was too strong, he would have to temporarily delay killing Yuanzi. If the Yao race's reaction was within his tolerable range. Sorry, Yuanzi, your life will soon be forfeit. A simulation costs 8 gold, current balance is 6 gold, insufficient balance. Do you want to recharge immediately? Recharge 2 soul crystals. Recharge successful. Consumed 8 gold. Simulation begins. At 17, you survived 4 lightning tribulations, killed the divine tiger king who wanted to extract your soul and refine your essence, and exterminated the tiger god clan. When this news spread, the Yao race was enraged and quickly demanded an explanation from the Great Qin dynasty. The Great Qin dynasty stated its willingness to assist the Yao race in eliminating you, an evil martial god who indiscriminately killed and destroyed the friendship between the two races. Submissive to outsiders, ruthless to insiders. Why does this feel like the late Qing dynasty? Although Liu Changsheng had tried his best to underestimate Great Qin's bottom line, this operation still left him speechless. Having no backbone in front of foreign races, and even helping foreign races eliminate experts from their own clan, is this the human race's court or a foreign race's court? This world, no, this Great Qin is defiled again. It's time for a cleanup. The conflict between Liu Changsheng and the Great Qin court was an internal conflict within the human race. Now, facing foreign races, the Great Qin dynasty still maintained this stance, and Liu Changsheng would no longer show it any mercy. Facing the cooperation between the Great Qin dynasty and the Yao race, you did not act rashly but decided to first improve your strength. 3 days later, you refined the profound armor and the true dragon blood, and the power of your black tortoise and azure dragon dharma idols increased. At 18, you refined the divine soul thought of the divine tiger king and the soul crystals left by Zhang Zhao, doubling your divine soul power. At 20, due to your continued disappearance, the Yao race martial gods began to return to their territories. At this time, you felt the moment was ripe and secretly infiltrated the Great Qin imperial city, looking for an opportunity to break the ancestral dragon grand formation, which could threaten a 9 tribulation martial god. A month later, you finally found the ancestral dragon grand formation's core located in a dry well in the Kuning Hall of Shenyang Palace. You struck with full force, destroying the core, causing the earth to shake and the imperial city to fall into chaos. Amidst the chaos, you purged Shenyang Palace, killing Emperor Ganming Qinguan, Emperor Zhengdu Qin Junyi, and the chief eunuch Wei Taixian. News of this spread, shaking the world. The Great Qin dynasty fell, the world was leaderless, and wars broke out frequently. Just then, Jai Xingzi of the Tianji Pavilion stepped forward, uncharacteristically not accusing you of being a demon star, but instead urged you to ascend the throne and establish a new dynasty. What is this Jai Xingzi up to? Could it be that he submitted to my kingly aura? Liu Changsheng found it a bit hard to believe. After all, the Tianji Pavilion had always been against him before, and this time in the simulation, they uncharacteristically sided with him, which inevitably made him feel a bit unaccustomed. 140. Slaughter the world with blood. The regent of the Qin dynasty. Jai Xingzi's words greatly surprised you. You believed he wanted to make you a target of public criticism and had ill intentions, so you punched him to death. Afterward, you began to refine Jai Xingzi's divine soul. From his memories, you learned that he had only chosen to pledge allegiance to you out of fear of your strength, to preserve his sect. At this point, you no longer had any doubts and began to accelerate the pace of subduing various feudal lords and rebel armies across the land. The 3 teachings and 6 sects and the 7 great clans also cooperated with you immensely. Soon, you miraculously completed the unification of the land again within half a year. During this period, the martial gods of the demon and barbarian clans ambushed you multiple times, but you repelled them all. On the first day of the first month of the following year, you officially ascended the emperor seat and proclaimed yourself emperor in Luoyang City, the newly chosen capital. When you completed the sacrifice to the heavens and decreed the dynastic title, Ming, the 108 dragon veins across the entire world suddenly rioted simultaneously. Endless dragon chi surged towards you, bursting your physical body and divine soul. You died. Liu Changsheng was stunned. 1 second, he was rejoicing at having pacified the 4 seas, ascended the emperor's seat, and reached the peak of his life. The next second, he died violently at his enthronement ceremony. This time, it wasn't due to a powerful enemy attack. Instead, he died from dragon chi. Why didn't the dragon chi from the 108 prefectures of the world accept him? Instead, it became the culprit of his death. There must be a hidden secret within this. This might even concern the deepest secret of why the Great Qin dynasty has stood for 2,000 years without falling. Considering Jai Xingzi's abnormal behavior, Liu Changsheng felt that he must have known something. However, the memories extracted were all normal. But it was also possible that Jai Xingzi deliberately altered his memories to lure Liu Changsheng into a trap. This way, even though he died, the Tianji Pavilion survived. At the very least, he could preserve the legacy in advance, and after Lu Chengsheng died, the Tianji Pavilion could still continue. If Jai Xingzi truly did this, it only showed that he was even more ruthless than Lu Chengsheng had imagined. And that most mysterious seven tribulation martial god of the Great Qin dynasty, for some unknown reason, never appeared from beginning to end. It's unclear whether he was plotting something behind the scenes or if he simply hadn't passed the seventh lightning tribulation at that time. Simulation ended. You can retain one item. 1. Cultivation realm at 21 years old. 2. Cultivation experience at 21 years old. Choose one. As Lu Chengsheng made his choice, the nascent divine infant in his sea of consciousness grew visibly. After a dozen breaths, this change only stopped when the nascent divine infant had grown a full inch taller. Lu Chengsheng's nascent divine infant was previously 4 inches, and now it grew another inch, reaching 5 inches. However, it was still 4 inches short of the 9-inch limit. The further along he went, the more divine soul power was required. Relying solely on the 100+ soul crystals and the Divine Tiger King's divine soul thoughts was not like trying to put out a fire with a cup of water, but rather that their effect was becoming increasingly minimal. Previously, just consuming the reserves left by Zhang Zhao allowed for rapid realm advancement. Now, after condensing the nascent divine infant, simply consuming those reserves was clearly not enough. He needed to find new sources within the simulator. It's time for the world to feel pain. A slight arc appeared at the corner of Lu Chengsheng's mouth. After entering Great Qin, he had been gentle for a long time. First, recharge 8 soul crystals, then continue the simulation. Recharge successful. Consumed 8 gold, simulation begins. At 17, you killed the Divine Tiger King. The Yao race was enraged, but before they could demand an explanation from the Great Qin Imperial Court, you consecutively slew 3 more Yao gods, the White Fox King, the Poisonous Spider King, and the Dragon Lion King. By this point, half of the 8 great Yao gods had died by your hand, causing an uproar throughout the world. At this time, you were still diligently searching for traces of other Yao gods in the western wilderness, but the remaining Yao gods had all hidden in the Sky Demon Cave heaven, not even having time to take their clansmen with them, which made you sigh with regret. At 19, you completely refined the divine soul thoughts of the 4 great Yao gods and absorbed the soul crystals left by Zhang Zhao. Your divine soul power increased by more than 3-fold, and your nascent divine infant grew another inch, reaching 6 inches. After emerging from seclusion, you arrived in the Northern Plains region. As soon as you entered the Northern Plains, you encountered 2 5-tribulation martial gods in a fierce battle. One was the barbarian god Bagu, and the other was Meng Yi of the human race's Meng clan. You were overjoyed at the sight and killed both martial gods. Subsequently, you encountered the 4-tribulation barbarian god Huyan Yu, who had come as reinforcement. Before he could react, his physical body was shattered by your punch, and his divine soul was collected by you using the spirit transformation bottle. Half a day later, you found the 4-tribulation barbarian god Maodan in a large tribe. He had no idea what was happening before his vision went black, and he died by your hand. That same night, you found the 3-tribulation barbarian god Bai Shu, who was holding a 2-legged sheep feast. You killed him with just one move, and along with him, all the royalty and nobles attending the feast also died. With 4 barbarian gods dying consecutively in just one day, the remaining barbarian gods all became vigilant. Under the call of He Lianqi, the barbarian race's top expert, they all went to the Manwang Temple, giving you no opportunity. You stayed in the Northern Plains for another 3 days, during which you wantonly massacred barbarian tribes, provoking the remaining 6 barbarian gods to attack you collectively. However, no one could harm you. Instead, you counter-killed 2 of them with your great 5-element sword formation. The remaining 4 barbarian gods fled back to the Manwang Temple, hiding within the temple's formation. No matter how you provoked them, they absolutely refused to come out. Helpless, you had no choice but to find a place to refine the gains from this trip to the Northern Plains first. At 21, you refined the divine souls of these 6 barbarian gods. Your divine soul power surged again, and your nascent divine infant successfully reached 7.5 inches. After ending your seclusion, you went directly to the Great Qin Imperial City. By this time, the number of martial gods who had died by your hand far exceeded 10. Your reputation as the soul-devouring mad demon had long since spread throughout the Tian Yuan continent. Every sentient being with intelligence knew of it. Your arrival put the Qin court on high alert, even directly activating the immensely costly ancestral Dragon Grand Formation. Unfortunately, you already knew the location of the formation's eye, and shattered the Grand Formation with just one strike. Subsequently, under Emperor Ganming Qinguan's terrified gaze, you twisted off the heads of Wei Taixian and Qin Junyi, and asked him if the imperial court had any other martial gods. He said no, and in disappointment, you twisted off his head as well. Through Soul Scour of Qin Junyi, you learned that the first emperor Qin Zheng, in order to ensure the great Qin's legacy for 10,000 generations, had forcefully altered the flow of the earth vein dragon qi and laid down the 8 desolate sacred dragon formation with the Qin bloodline. Any emperor not of the Qin bloodline would inevitably suffer backlash from the world's dragon qi and die violently. Thus, you declared yourself regent, sitting high on the emperor's seat, looking down upon all beings. All civil and military officials felt that the future was bleak, but they had no choice but to succumb to your tyranny. At this time, Jai Xingzi of Tianji Pavilion came to pledge allegiance to you and advised you to ascend the emperor's seat. You smilingly agreed and told him that martial gods from various major forces should attend the enthronement ceremony as observers, entrusting Jai Xingzi with full responsibility for the matter. Jai Xingzi began to travel around, utilizing his connections, exhausting himself and worrying himself sick for the enthronement ceremony.